I'm going to say it. 2-1 Borussia Dortmund. And there's a very specific reason why I think they might do it. I've spoken to a few Real Madrid fans. I've spoken to a few Dortmund fans. And the Real Madrid fans, they are way too confident. Way too confident. That's never a good sign, in my opinion. If you're going into a match and you're 100% certain that you're going to win, do not underestimate Borussia Dortmund. Now, I'm ready to be corrected. I'm almost certainly won't be right. You never know. But in today's live stream, we're going to be breaking down the tactics and we're going to be looking at how both teams are approaching the game. So I've got some really exciting software to be showing you that's going to help us understand the game. And obviously, everyone's eyes are going to be on the match. So don't worry if you want to tune in, tune out, come in, join when you want, when you're ready. But we're going to be looking at the different tactics and we're going to be trying to focus on what's happening on the game while it's happening. So you can get a better understanding of the tactics of both teams, which I've definitely not picked an easy game because Real Madrid's tactics are, Ancelotti said it himself, what even are Real Madrid's tactics? They just go with the flow. It's just pure vibes, isn't it? When you look at Dortmund, maybe it's a little bit easy to understand what they want to do. But Real Madrid, they can just throw it on when they want. They can just turn it on when they want. But anyway, hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Cormac and yeah, this is first of many live streams that we're going to be doing over the Euros especially. I just thought the Champions League final was an excellent occasion to get started, to get in the rhythm of it. And this is not a one-way thing. I absolutely need you guys to comment, to let me know, and we will go through it together and we'll understand the tactics together. Hello, Steven. Thank you so much. Il Critico. Ciao, Cormac. Grandissimo. Hello to all my Italian subscribers as well. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing today. So we have the tactics board and we've got the two formations ready to go as well. So a lot of players in the center. So we have a 4-2-3-1 from Borussia Dortmund, a pretty typical formation from this season. It's their most used formation that they've used this season. Sometimes opting for a 4-3-3, but mostly a 4-2-3-1. And it's easy to understand why. I think the holding midfielder partnership of Can and Sabitzer is really good. And they've got really strong, quick attack as well. So lots of danger coming from them. We know how they play a little bit. We're going to be looking at some statistics as well. We know what they do. We know that they like to sit back a little bit and hit them on the counter. And we've got some statistics that might highlight that Real Madrid could struggle to stop that. But then, on the other hand, we have Real Madrid with their classic 4-3-1-2 formation. Seems weird to say classic because the 4-3-1-2 isn't really a formation you see too much of in the modern game. But Real Madrid, Ancelotti, they've brought it back from the dead, and that is thanks to this player right here, Jude Bellingham. Ancelotti said it himself. I was watching an interview the other day, super interesting. I think it was on the Times. He was just talking about the fact that he used to be a manager who was focused a lot on systems, like when he was a disciple of Saki. So he wanted to use the 4-4-2, zonal marking, all of these things. And he actually refused to sign Baggio, one of the greatest Italian players of all time, because he said he didn't fit the system. But then he went to Juventus and he had a player like Zidane, and that just opened his eyes to actually the players should lead the tactics, not the manager. So if you have the right players, then you should absolutely adopt your tactics to that. But I want to know your thoughts on this because there's definitely two approaches that a manager can have in this situation. You get a lot of managers who, like Guardiola, who is just pure system. They just want to adopt their tactics. They want the players to adopt to their system. And it obviously works. It's obviously successful. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have someone like Ancelotti, who is pure just players. If I have the right players, I'll play this system. But he's not married to a single individual system. And I absolutely love that. Makes my job as an analyst a lot harder. Because how the hell do you analyze Real Madrid? What can I say about Real Madrid except Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinicius, Cruz, Valverde? They're just all amazing. But anyway, thank you so much. I'm seeing a lot of comments already. Really enjoying this already. Thank you. And let's look at some statistics. Let's get a good idea of what both teams are bringing into this match. So keep in mind that these statistics are taken from the Bundesliga and La Liga. So not really a one-to-one comparison. There might be a little bit of some brain work that we need to do to connect the dots a little bit, but it gives us a good understanding of what both teams are trying to bring into the match and their current form coming into the game as well. So we have similar non-penalty XG, which is quite impressive. That actually 1.87, not too far off Real Madrid, but they're actually fifth in the Bundesliga, the Borussia Dortmund. And then a very similar non-penalty XG. So the main difference that we get from these statistics is the quality of the shot that both teams are taking. So 0.12, 0.13, that means that per shot, they're averaging about 0.12 XG per shot. Not bad numbers. We can see that's actually in the top four for both La Liga and the Bundesliga. And essentially, this means that they're able to create high-quality chances. And a big reason behind this is actually their really high counter-attacking numbers as well. I think, personally, there's no specific evidence that collects non-penalty XG to counterattack. But if you think about it, when a team is counterattacking, they have a lot of the players are out of position, so you have a lot of space that you can exploit, and it makes it easier for the team to find chances in front of goal. There's less defenders, so maybe the XG per shot is slightly higher. Moving on, we've also got really high XG from set pieces for both teams. This could be interesting. Now, in finals, I want to know your thoughts as well, but finals, obviously, set pieces are important because we saw it with Dortmund against PSG. You don't really need to dominate the game, but if you have one chance, you have that one opportunity where you can score from a set piece, then it can turn the game on its head super quickly. So never underestimate set pieces. Never underestimate Dortmund. That's one of their secrets, I think, today. I know it's not fun. It's not the most entertaining thing to analyze corner kicks. We can take a look at them later on if they happen a lot, but obviously it's something that we need to consider a lot. Then we have chance creation. Now, this is interesting as well because we can see how both teams are approaching the final third and what kind of chances they want to create. The first thing I want to highlight is that none of them rely much on crosses. And I think this is a general trend that we're starting to see in football as well, is that crossing is important, obviously, and you get a lot of teams that do rely on it heavily, but it's always something that's part of a bigger system. So maybe a team crosses the ball a little bit, but also they cut back and they dribble and they play a lot of through balls. Rarely do you see teams that are solely reliant on crosses and successful. The only outlier that I think from this season anyway, from what I've seen personally, was Inter. But they had a very unique crossing approach. And I made a video on Inter a few months ago, which actually did really well. I hope you guys all saw it. And if you haven't, maybe you should check it out. Bad timing because they lost to Atletico. But they focused a lot on crosses, but their crosses were coming from quite a deep position. So they were coming from before the box, maybe like 3/4 of the way up the pitch, the 3/4 line. I'm not entirely sure what you call it in English, to be honest. But it's, yeah, so from a deeper position, so the defenders didn't really have time to set up properly. And these balls into the box were extremely dangerous. But again, going back to these two teams, crossing isn't too fundamental. However, we do see there's a lot more through balls, and we're going to be looking at that when we look at the tactics and how they like to play. But through balls are important, dribbles as well. So that's really exciting because if we look at both teams, well, obviously, we know some of their players, but we've got Sancho, we've got Adeyemi. I absolutely love Adeyemi. Super quick. Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo. All these players are so quick that it doesn't take much for them to be through on goal. And in these positions out wide, so if you're getting Vinicius, he usually moves out into these positions over here. Even though he's a centre forward, we know he loves to play in this position out here. Ryson's going in for a tough match. He's a good right back, but tough game today. You see a lot of double up, and obviously these dribbles happen quite a lot. You see this with Sancho as well. You see this with Adeyemi. So I wouldn't be surprised if the game opens up maybe a little bit more in the second half. Usually these finals, a little bit cagey in the first half. I think my prediction is we're going to go 0-0 first half, and then second half things are going to open up. But obviously I'm here to be corrected. And there's so many interesting things to look at from this match. Like we have the Jude Bellingham playing against Borussia Dortmund in the final. I think anyone expected that to happen. We've got the final games for Kroos and Royce, even though he's on the bench. I think he's on the bench, actually. I haven't even checked. I just checked the starting lineup. Yeah, there's so many different stories to this thing. The one I found funny was because of the Bellingham sale, if Dortmund win, they get something like 20 million. But if they lose, they get 25 million. So that's quite funny. I know, obviously, Dortmund fans won't really care about the extra 5 million. And I feel like you get more money in other situations because of, you won the Champions League. That's a lot of publicity. You're going to get a lot of people. But I think it's just funny that, yeah, even if they lose, they actually technically make more money because of this player right here that they sold last season. Yeah, lots of interesting stories. And, okay, let's go back to the statistics because there was a few other things that I wanted to highlight as well going into the game. Chance creation, cutbacks, we see for Real Madrid, they're super important. So like we were saying, we have Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, they usually cut into these areas just on the edge of the 6-yard box, and then they cut it back. And these cutbacks are extremely important. It's a number that teams like Man City as well, they have really high statistics here. And then finally, we've got some more defensive and build-up numbers as well. So build-up is where you can really understand a team's approach. Specifically in the modern game, a lot of teams like to build from the back. So just looking at the amount of goalkeeper long balls tells you that, okay, both these teams, they want to control the ball from deep positions. Then we've got different types of possession that we might look at as well. But they're going to try and hold on to the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's a few long goal kicks, but a lot of it might be played short. And I doubt the teams are going to press super aggressively, especially Dortmund. I think they're going to sit back a little bit, especially in the first half. But then, yeah, we're gonna see what happens. Lots of passes numbers quite generic. Not my favorite, but it's important to consider that they both keep the ball a lot. And then forward passes as well. You see, they like to hold the ball a lot. So forward passes, that's quite low in their respective leagues. So that highlights that they're not too worried about creating chances quickly. They want to create the right chances, and that also suggests with their high XG per shot. So they're not shooting a lot, they're shooting when the chance is right. But then we have their pressing numbers as well. So as you can see, both of them aren't the heaviest pressers, which I think in a final actually plays to your advantage a little bit. Not necessarily saying that if you're getting pressed all the way. I mean, actually, I stand corrected. If anyone saw Atalanta, that is how you press. What a game. That was unbelievable. But generally speaking, if you're not Atalanta and whatever those players were on that game, because that was unbelievable, pressing can be difficult to do in a final because it's a little bit cagey. Teams are well prepared. They know what to expect. So, yeah, I'm not surprised if, especially first half, the teams will sit back a little bit more. And then finally, just to get a little bit more understanding, we have these statistics as well. So the one that I like to, essentially, I'm sure you've worked out, but the yellow is the Dortmund and the white is Real Madrid. The number that I use a lot is field tilt. And I think I use it a bit too much, to be honest, because it's a good number, but I don't think it's everything. But sometimes maybe I rely on it a bit too much. But I forgot to include the actual number. But Real Madrid was about 63 and Dortmund was about 51, 52. So essentially this means how high up the pitch the teams are keeping the ball. So a team like Real Madrid are slightly more controlling in the opposition's half, while Dortmund are maybe slightly lower. They want to hold their possession a bit lower and then find space in behind. So similar approaches from both teams. And I'm just looking at the poll that you guys have been filling, and Dortmund are actually favourites. We have 290 votes, 55% for Dortmund. So I think everyone's on the same wavelength as me. Everyone's too confident about Real Madrid that it's going to be difficult. I don't know. I think Dortmund, they might surprise us. I hope it's a good game. That's all I'm hoping for. I'm pretty neutral in this, but obviously it'll be cool to see Dortmund win because it's something new, something unique that we haven't seen. I saw Klopp was in the stadium just now. So yeah, there's a lot riding on this game, and I think it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, let's hear your thoughts. So curious to know what you guys are thinking. Yeah, Dortmund will win. Lunin benched. Yeah, I saw that Courtois was playing, but I thought Lunin had an injury. I'm not entirely sure, but again, yeah, I might have missed that, but I think it was an injury. Yeah, I don't know. I might be popular in Germany. Let's just wait and see, because in Italy, if you say that team's going to win and then they lose, you call it a gufo. So you're saying I'm wishing essentially bad luck by saying that a team's going to win. Hopefully that's not the case. I'm pretty sure none of the players are listening to me, so that's entirely fine. Yeah. So Lunin was ill. Yeah. So it makes sense. I mean, come on, Courtois. You're not really risking it playing Courtois. What final was it a few years ago? It was just unbelievable. Just stopped everything in his tracks. There was nothing would get past him. It was just incredible. And I miss him a lot because if you're not aware, I'm a Chelsea fan. And yeah, since Courtois left, maybe a bit of a coincidence, but it's all been a little bit downhill since there. So yeah, so the teams are just lining up. I hope you guys have the match ready to go wherever you're watching it. If it's on your phone, I have it right on my phone here. So should be able to be not too distant in time. We should be able to keep the timing pretty close to what you're watching as well. So the analysis is coherent. Because I've tried this before and sometimes there was like a 10-minute delay and it just didn't really make much sense really because they'd already scored 2 goals before I'd analysed 1. So yeah, thank you so much again for joining in. Again, yeah, if you want to follow the match closely or you want to use this as commentary, then absolutely, let's do it. Let's see what happens. Lots of comments already. Struggling to keep up, actually. I didn't expect this. I thought it would be easier to read all the comments, but oh well. Yeah, so this is my first live analysis. I did a couple during the World Cup in December, or maybe it was I can't remember when it was, but yeah, I did a couple during the World Cup, but I had this physical board behind me, so this is the first time that I'm trialing out, and I've seen a couple people ask already. I've got the Football Meta software, so that's probably one of the most requested things ever, is what software I use for my videos, and up to now it's always been DaVinci Resolve, so I've always edited my videos with DaVinci. I've always used video editing software to make my videos, but now I'm working on this software here, which hopefully is still in beta. There's still a few bugs that we need to sort out, but hopefully eventually it'll be something that you guys can use as well, and we've got some big ideas of what we could do possible. I don't want to say too much, but just for now it's going to help me speed up my content a little bit and bring content like this as well. So how to understand football tactics, please tell me. I love you how to do analysis. Thank you very much, Football X Cooks. we're going to be looking at today. So I've got a few tips of how we can watch a game more tactically, how we can understand a little bit more about what's happening, what both teams are thinking in the moment. But yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of just watching games and then picking out and understanding what teams do consistently. So, for example, if you're watching Real Madrid, it's quite difficult because sometimes, just take their Champions League run, right? When they played against Man City, they played the lowest block I've ever seen, especially from Real Madrid. I've never seen them play such a low block. But then you go against Bayern Munich, and it's the complete opposite. They're a lot more dominant. They have a lot more of the ball. They play in completely different ways. But then you look at them in La Liga, or maybe it was like against Barcelona when they won like 4-1 a few months ago, and it's a completely different match again. The Barcelona playing with an extremely high line, and they have these players cutting in behind. They have Vinicius, they have Rodrigo, they have Bellingham, they have all these players that are ready to attack in behind. And I think this thing that the Real Madrid do really well is they're able to draw the opposition's defense high up the pitch. So let's just say, for example, they have the ball in this position. They're able to draw the opposition quite high up. And then because they have these two players just constantly hovering here, they have Bellingham maybe like dragging the defender off. Once there's players in the right position, they can just pick them out, and they have all this space in behind that they can just attack. And because Rodrigo and Vinicius are so quick, it just makes it a lot easier for them to find the space in behind to attack. And yeah, so these runs, especially Bellingham between the lines, I think was a really big revelation for Ancelotti and for Real Madrid as a whole, because it's a difficult one to understand. It's a position that is rarely seen in the modern game, the 4-3-1-2, the 4-4-2, 4-4-2 diamond, but it's one that's absolutely working. So game's just about to kick off. Let me make sure I start the timer on the stream so we're not behind. And yeah, good luck to everyone. Really excited about this. Here we go. All right, good start. Okay, so instantly we're seeing pretty similar structure from Dortmund. They usually play with one pivot. So even though they start with two pivots, it's not rare to see them start with the two centre-backs. And the fullbacks are usually quite conservative, especially at the start. I can't tell now if it was Sabitzer or Chan, but they usually play with one player in this position. And then they have Sancho and Adeyemi instantly stretching the back line. And then Brandt as this like extra man that can hover between the lines. He can add connections. He can drop deep. He can act as a second striker. Really like him. Really dynamic player. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm curious to see how high up the pitch Real Madrid are going to press. I doubt it's going to be, like I said just a few minutes ago, I doubt it's going to be an extremely heavy pressing match. I think most of the game is going to be in this area of the pitch. So not too much pressure high up, but again, I'm ready to be corrected. How would you guys define Ancelotti's tactics? Really curious. Pragmatic? I think that's what he said in the interview he did recently. Just finds the right players and is just able to get the most out of all the players. It's a really interesting dilemma, because I was watching a video from The Athletic, or like, we all call it Tifo. We all know it's Tifo. But they were talking about Ancelotti and why he's maybe not regarded as one of the greatest managers of all time. Like to me, he probably is, but he rarely seems to be like in the conversation. Like when you think about great managers, yeah, he's obviously there, but he doesn't seem to be put in the same light as like maybe tactical masterminds as Guardiola. So yeah, like you guys are saying, like the adaptability of Ancelotti is just ridiculous. His ability to just find the right players and find the ways of getting the most out of every single player is just really phenomenal. There's always someone that runs onto the pitch instantly. Every Champions League final, I think it was World Cup final as well. I don't get why they do it, if it's publicity, if it's advertisement. I think it was a few years ago, but probably shouldn't talk about that because I think it was something a bit dodgy. Carlo is a chameleon of managers. That's a good way of putting it. I think that makes a lot of sense. He's just, able to adapt. And yeah, like I was saying, it's weird because, again, it's like these two spectrums of super tactical managers and super free-flowing. In modern day, you'd probably call it relationist managers. Someone like Ancelotti, slightly more, I don't know if relationism is the right term to use for Ancelotti because he's been doing it for 20 years, and relationism seems to be a little bit more of a modern trend. But I think what's interesting is, with a manager like Guardiola, if Guardiola wins the Champions League, he gets a lot of the credit, obviously, or Vinicius already shown us why he's so dangerous on the left flank. So instantly just pushing up into this position. I think, when Guardiola wins the Champions League, he gets a lot of the credit. But if Real Madrid win the Champions League, a lot of the headlines aren't really necessarily on Ancelotti, but they're very much on Vinicius, on Rodrigo, on Bellingham. So that's why I think he's such a good manager, because he removes the light from himself and he's able to put it on the players, which is, let's be honest, that's what we want from football. Do I want to coach Chelsea? I think I would love to, yes. Let's just see how this Enzo guy does. Very curious. I've been trying to read a bit more about him. I'm a Chelsea fan, if you guys don't know, and I'm curious about this appointment. I don't know. I think it could be good, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll have other opportunities to talk a little bit about more Chelsea and Maresca, and so many managers on the move. It's just ridiculous. I don't really understand why there's so many managers moving this season. It seems to be something like a coordinated assault on the transfer market. But anyway, let's see. So Real Madrid currently have the ball with the goalkeeper. Now let's see how they move up the pitch. So Dortmund not really pressing too high up the pitch. I saw in their previous game they went with a 4-1-4-1 against PSG, but it looks like here it might be more of a 4-4-2. Or maybe no. So it looks like it's going to be a 4-1-4-1 as well. So we have Emre Can in this position, and then lots of positions like this. The 4-1-4-1 is a good defensive formation. I'd say it's arguably the 4-1-4-1, the 4-4-2 are probably currently in the current football meta are probably the most used defensive formations. There's pretty specific reason as to why. So in this position we have something like this. This is kind of how the teams look to be lining up in today's game. So we have Nacho, Camavinga, Bellingham maybe a little bit higher up, Cruz in this position. Again, Carvajal. The 4-1-4-1 is good because, for example, if the ball goes over to, let's say, a Real Madrid player into the left flank, into Vinicius, then Dortmund are instantly able to get a lot of players into this position. So Rodrigo, you can end up with a lot of players just instantly covering here. And because Dortmund, they use a zonal marking system mostly. So even if there's a player here, they mostly want to maintain their defensive line. They're not too focused on... just looking at Dortmund attack there. They're not too focused on following their man, but they just want to keep a defensive line. The issue for me with the 4-1-4-1, it's not really an issue, but the weakness of the 4-1-4-1 is definitely switches in play. So if you watch a lot of their games, Dortmund's games against PSG, there were a lot of moments where PSG maybe didn't have the right opportunity. They didn't have the right timing to find the player on the opposite flank. But there's a lot of situations where, 4-1-4-1, you have to shift over. You have one pivot who has to move into this position. You end up with a good amount of players. So in this case, there's not much, for example, Vinicius could do if this was the defensive team, because all this place is blocked. He has to probably go back round. But if they are able to move the ball quickly on the other flank, you can often find a free player. In this case, it's Valverde. I don't know if it would be Rodrigo, but we have instantly a corner kick. So like we were saying earlier, corner kicks could be a dangerous one in this game. Okay, so Real Madrid building up now. Lots of long balls. This is... very nice switch into Vinicius. Really good 1v1 as well. Very good defending. Actually, I thought that was a foul, but no, it was good defending right there. So these switches in play are good as well, especially, again, like we were saying, against the 4-1-4-1. Anything you can do to catch the opposition off guard, because this player is going to have to do a lot of covering. So eventually maybe they might go back to a 4-4-2, maybe a little bit more cover in the center. But if you only have one player in this position here, it can be quite difficult, especially if you're playing with quite a high defensive line. Lots of switches into these positions can be quite difficult to cover, quite tiring for the opposition to defend. I'm curious to see Bellingham's role in today's match as well. I feel like in the previous matches, maybe against Bayern Munich, I felt like he was a little bit sacrificed. He was played on like the left wing in this position over here. I felt like he was sacrificed himself a little bit for the team, but that's obviously something he can do, and he's extremely good at doing it. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that if he sits back a little bit, and he's able to be dangerous from this left inside channel. And if you look at Real Madrid's heat map and where they create their most chances, they absolutely come from the left flank. If you have someone like Cruz who can play players in behind, you have Vinicius who can run in behind. Bellingham, who can just add support, add numbers. There's a big reason why a lot of their attacks are coming from this position. And then obviously you have players making these darting runs into the center as well. So let's set these players back up. Let's see. So yeah, quite a conservative press. Real Madrid switching to a back three, actually. So Mendy playing a little bit higher. Carvajal dropping in. In this case, they've actually switched a little bit. Oh, actually, no, it's Toni Kroos who's dropping in. Yeah, so this is a rotation they actually make quite a lot. So one of the holding midfielders drops in. You're going to end up with a little bit more support, and you allow one of the fullbacks to maybe give a little bit more support on the flank as well. And this is dangerous as well. If you have a player like Kroos that gets into these positions, he can often pick it up with a lot of time. And if the opposition isn't ready, their defensive line is high. Like we were saying, Kroos can absolutely play these balls in behind from a deep position. It's a really dangerous one to stop. It's difficult to counter as well, because in a way, they kind of want you to come and press him, because then you have players like here that can pick up. So for example, if this player steps out, it would maybe be Brandt in this occasion. Then you have Camavinga, you have Valverde, you have a lot of players between the lines. So it's difficult to understand, do I want to cover the midfield or do I want to cover the space in behind? And I realize I'm trying to explain all these tactics that I'm actually not watching much of the game. Nice compact defensive line as well. When I was working with the Lazio under-19s a few seasons ago, that was something the coach I was working with super insistent on, the defensive principle of the 3-1. So if there's a ball being played in behind, one defender goes to meet it in the air, and then the other three defenders have to cover in behind like this. So, for example, if it's Rodrigo that's going for the header, you have to have maybe 2 or 3 defenders. Our coach wanted 3 players to cover this space in behind in case there's like a flick on. Not Hummels, obviously, but if the ball gets flicked on into this corridor here, you have a lot of players that can cover and just make it a little bit easier to predict what the opposition is going to do. Because if they drop it between the lines, then you still have a lot of cover, and it just makes it a little bit easier to stop. Good move there from Real Madrid. Again, good defending, no foul. Like to see it, the ref seems to be letting the game play quite consistently, really. It seems to be there was like a few opportunities where he could have stopped the game, but just let it play on, which is what we want to see, to be honest. So Real Madrid actually pressing. Oh, mistake at the back there. So quite an interesting build-up. It's something I was looking at Arne Slot recently, and he had a pretty similar structure to what Borussia Dortmund were doing just there. So they came to press, but the midfield line was actually quite high up the pitch. So in this case, they had the 2 players here. You get a lot of teams that want to build. They want to have a lot of support just outside the box. So a manager like De Zerbi, for example, he'll have his 2 holding midfielders or his pivots. They'll usually start quite deep in this position. So they instantly have like 6 players, 7 players in this position that can help. But something that I noticed with Slot that I was watching recently, and it looked like Dortmund will do something similar, is if you have these 2 players start quite high up the pitch, maybe they're a little bit more squished here, maybe something like this, then it makes it difficult for the opposition to press. So if they imagine this is like a build-up, so you have all the team in this position here, the defense is playing with quite a high defensive line, obviously near the midfield line. If these 2 players press the 2 centre-backs and the ball gets played into here, then you have all this space in behind here that makes it difficult to stop. So in this case, again, similar to what Real Madrid want to do, if they want you to cover the space in behind, or if they want you to cover the space in midfield, this space here can be manipulated. So if you have a lot of players that push up, then you can essentially have a 3v2 against the 2 strikers. So this instantly becomes really difficult for the opposition to press, because in the modern game, the goalkeeper is always going to be involved in this situation. So if Vinicius presses, then you have one player that can drop deep, and then instantly, with like a similar concept to De Zerbi, you can move the ball in this position, and then you've instantly cut Vinicius out of the game. And once you've cut the one player out of the game, then that's just a domino effect that leads to more space further down the line. Then again, there's other situations you can analyze as well. So if you do want to have a lot of players in this position, so if you don't want to exploit this space, but you want to exploit this space, then you can just drop more players. So you can have these players here, maybe you can have Brandt moving here, and then you force the opposition to push more players further forward. Maybe Bellingham as well is up here, trying to cover all these space, and then you have a lot more of an advantage that you can exploit in this position here. So again, you get a lot of teams that maybe they make one pass and then the centre-back instantly just kicks it forward into the striker, and you can exploit this space, maybe like knock it down into this space here, and then you can move and attack in behind. So what software? This is the Football Meta software. It's currently not available. It's still in beta. I'm gonna trialing it out a little bit. I want to get your guys' feedback as well on when we're using it today and when we're using it during live streams in the next videos. If there's anything that you guys think could be useful for you guys to see and to understand, and features that we could add. And also, I am 28 years old. Thank you for asking. Oh, Real Madrid, Dortmund are in. Oh, good chance. So then, yeah, we saw that with a little cutback here. So I actually missed the move there. I was looking at the comments for a little bit, but it looked like a ball in behind. Yeah, so a long ball. Looks like he might have been just a tad offside as well. Very good touch. Would you consider that a cutback? I don't know if you could consider that a cutback. I think technically it would, but it's maybe not as traditional as your standard cutback. Okay, so quite an aggressive press from Real Madrid's build-up as well. Just in the opposition's box, not committing too many players. So in this case, let's see how Real Madrid was set up there. So they had their two players. Again, it looks like Toni Kroos is dropping. Is it Kroos or Cross? I swear I keep saying that wrong. He keeps dropping into like these positions here, which is again is good because it does draw the opposition forward quite a lot, and it does make it difficult for the opposition to predict what you want to do, because if you pass it across here, then you have Mendy, you have a lot of players in this position here that you can create overloads, or you have the players that can then just kick it forward instantly. Chance from Vini there, moving inside. Interesting to see him popping up on the right channel as well there. So let's get the players just set up, see kind of their average positions throughout the game as well. Lots of long balls, yeah. So kind of what we were saying earlier as well. If they press too high up the pitch, then you can just pick them out in behind. That was another thing that I read from Ancelotti in the recent interview he did when he was playing against De Zerbi when he was still a manager at Shakhtar. Great play. Ancelotti was full of praise for De Zerbi, but he just said essentially, it was obvious that they wanted you to press. So they wanted you to push as high up the pitch as possible. And Ancelotti basically just said, well, I'm just going to kick it over you. So if you keep doing that, I'm just going to kick it over you. And they won that game 5-0. Like a prolonged, so Kroos. Okay. Does that make sense? Thank you. For feedback on your app, I always enjoy seeing player numbers. Right, okay, so yeah, so we have it. I have the position because I feel like it gives more context to what the player's position is, and maybe if they do a lot of rotations, it gives you a little bit more context. But we can switch that out to numbers. I'm actually not entirely sure what number Sancho is, but we can have the number as well. But I think for this case, yeah, we can maybe put what number is Sancho? Is he number 10? But you can put it in that position as well. I just thought because you have the name, so yeah. So yeah, a lot of people asking, yeah, this is the Football Meta software, still in development, but hopefully it should be released soon enough. Just keep on track, keep tuned in, as we're going to be using it over the Euros as well. So yeah, both teams they're looking to press instantly, but not too many players. So it's not an aggressive like man-to-man press that you'd see with like Atalanta with like no room to breathe, but they're pushing up. So in that case, you had Vini who was pressing the three. Essentially, it was a 3v1. So you had Vini pressing the goalkeeper and the two centre-backs, just trying to find, just trying to rush their move a little bit, but nothing too aggressive, because you don't want to commit too many players, because again, like we were saying earlier, like we were looking at the statistics, both of these teams are extremely quick. So if you commit too many players high up the pitch, then they can very quickly find you exposed at the back. Real Madrid looking for these switches in play into Vini or Rodrigo in this case. So they might have switched flanks actually, or maybe just Rodrigo giving a lot of support, which is quite dangerous. You see in this situation, actually, you have Mendy as well pushing up, Bellingham. Imagine being surrounded by these 5 players on the flank. How scary must that be? You got Vini, Rodrigo, Mendy, Kroos and Bellingham within 5 meters of you with the ball. That's never going to be fun. So Carvajal playing quite high up the pitch as well. So it looks like, yeah, they're maybe trying to overload on this flank with Rodrigo and Vinny to maybe find a quick switch in play into Carvajal if he pushes up. Because if you have Cruz not pushing too high up, you have Mendy in this position, maybe you have the two centre-backs. You don't really need the other fullback to cover in this case. If you have a player here, you usually want to keep maybe 2 or 3 players at the back. So in this situation, if you've got 2 and like a half position here with Camavinga as well, then you can maybe get away with having your right back push a little bit further forward. Then again, yeah, it looks like Dortmund defending how they did it in the semi-final against PSG as well. So with a 4-1-4-1, nothing too aggressive, just trying to force play out wide. Doesn't seem like their lines are too compact, maybe switching to like a 4-4-2. So actually in this case, they might have gone a little bit more aggressive with a 4-4-2. Yeah, lots of quick passes. How would you guys attempt to stop the overload of Vinny and Rodrigo on the same flank, on the left? Because, again, if you commit too many players, they can still find you with quick 1-2s. They're quicker than you. So they're going to find space on this flank. So do you just want to zonal mark, just make sure they don't have time to make any decisions? You want to aggressively close them down? Lots of different things you could do. In this situation, it does look like Rodrigo's actually the player shifting a lot further out onto the left, with Vinny playing maybe in this half space position here, maybe a little bit more centrally as well. Oh, here we go, Carvajal with that really wide. So yeah, that's kind of what we were just saying now as well, wasn't it? So with the ball in this position, if you have Vinny and you have 2 players, so your 2 strikers essentially aren't down the middle, but they're shifted over to one side, it is going to force the opposition to move over to this side. And you can find your right back with a lot of space on this case here. So yeah, that was a really great move. If you can switch it quickly from left to right or from right to left, then yeah, that's going to be really dangerous for Real Madrid and really difficult for Dortmund to stop. So I think that might be a reason why they switched to a 4-4-2. So you can have your players not have to compact as much, because if you have these 2 players, then you can have 2 players on this side as well. Oh, I need to watch the game. Oh, wow. That seemed close. These balls in behind, both teams, that was so close. That should be 1-0. That absolutely should be 1-0. Just took it a little bit too far with his first touch. But again, I think Courtois was quick off his line. He made it difficult for him. And then that was excellent defending from Carvajal there. So we've got a short corner in this situation. And yeah, Courtois is going to have that. Yeah, so that's Courtois. That was an unbelievable pass. So, it does seem like both teams are adopting a pretty similar strategy with high defensive line and just trying to pick them out in behind quickly. It does look like maybe Dortmund slightly more conservative in their defensive approach. So they're not getting caught in behind, but they are getting caught maybe. There's quite a decent amount of space between the midfield and the defensive line, especially maybe this situation here. You can see, yeah, so Rodrigo in this case, or Bellingham, would have a little bit of space to pick up the ball, but they just don't want to get caught in behind. And I think with Carvajal pushing up, I don't know if this is a position that he picks up a lot during the season. I haven't seen too much of Real Madrid, but I know Carvajal does like to push up. But is this more advanced than he usually plays, or is this his usual positioning throughout the game? Yeah, I agree. Real Madrid playing decoy game on the left, attracting Dortmund, final phase of attack, switching to Carvajal with last fifth part of the pitch. Yeah. So Vinicius and Rodrigo. There it is, another switch into Rodrigo. So I think we've got it figured out, guys. There we go. So what does Dortmund do now? We've got it figured out. This is what they do. They're trying to move over to this side, condense the pitch, and then you've got Carvajal, you've got these players here, you've got Cruz, you've got a lot of players in this position. A little cut back there. Oh, was that a half penalty? Didn't see the tackle properly. It did look a bit dodgy. This game seems pretty end-to-end. Dortmund really putting the pressure on as well. Lots of different... Oh, and he's in. Oh, hit the post. I think that might be offside. Was that offside? Dortmund starting strong. The poll says it, 53%. I think them missing these chances, though, might bite them. It's Real Madrid. You can't miss your chances against Real Madrid. We know what they do. All it takes is Ancelotti to do the eyebrow thing, whatever you call it, and they're in. Yeah, slightly offside. Still, good chance. Dortmund putting the pressure on. I'm curious. Actually, I have the statistics available. Let's see if we can see these. Let's see if that gives us some information on how. Let's have this. So does that work with the statistics? Yeah. So let me know if you can see that. Maybe we can see what's going on. Possession, 66% Real Madrid. 2 shots to 2. 170 passes. So yeah, Real Madrid dominating the passing and the pass accuracy a little bit more. Lots of good balls in behind. So you guys saying condense the pitch as much as possible on the left flank. That could work. Yeah, so kind of what we're seeing here, but then I don't know how much time you can give to Carvajal. It can work. It might be difficult. So we've got an injury to... Oh, Emre Can's down now. That's going to be a difficult one for them to... Hopefully not too bad. They started strong, but losing a holding midfielder is never good because you need them to give you balance, obviously. And Can's had a good season, pretty much. So close. So close. I'm feeling it, though. I'm feeling it. I'm confident. I think they can do it. I don't know. Let's not hold our breath. So yeah, condense the pitch on the left. I wonder if Real Madrid are going to continue to try and do these overloads here. Because again, if they condense, maybe if they lose Emre Can, maybe they switch to a 4-3-3. Or maybe go a bit more conservative, 4-5-1 maybe. Nah, 4-3-3. It's the final. It's the final. Nah, it's not over. It's good. Has this got Salah-esque vibes when he got injured in the Champions League final against Real Madrid? It's always Real Madrid. They're dirty. They always do it. They do it on purpose, don't they? They know what they're doing. But yeah, I'm curious to see if they're going to continue to overload this side of the pitch and try and find Carvajal in this position, or if at any point they're going to trick us. So they're going to think, oh yeah, let's just Camavinga to Carvajal, and then Camavinga just plays a lovely little through ball back into the condensed zone, and no one expects it, and that could happen. Nah, it's not over. Everyone's saying it's over. I think it'll be all right. It'll be fine. Again, Cruz playing in this deep position here. It's a difficult one to stop. Difficult one. Because, again, it allows them to create this overload on the left. It has to force them to do something because you can't just not put pressure on any of them. So it does allow with Cruz here, you know he's going to try and hit you in behind. So the defensive line can't push up. They can't condense this area. Because if they push up, then Vinny's just going to do that same dummy he did against Bayern Munich, and you're exposed at the back. So the defensive line can't push up because Cruz has the ball here, and Cruz is... Oh, Vinny's in. That was a lovely ball into the ball. Oh, so close. Good defending there. Bit strange they're so insistent on overloading Ryerson's side instead of Maatsen. Ryerson is infinitely more defensively solid and Adeyemi is much more dangerous on the counter. That's an interesting point as well, because you need to consider if they do regain the ball, but maybe they can switch it like this. So it doesn't take long, and they're in again. Adeyemi's through. I think his touch took him wide. His touch took him wide again. I think these chances, it's going to be difficult for them to come back from these chances. I don't know. But yeah, just because a team, if it's on this side, again, we saw it in some of the statistics as well, that Real Madrid do attack down the left flank a lot. It's a really intense game. Yeah, it is really good. They do attack down this flank a lot. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to counter on this side as well, because if you think about it, it's going to be harder to counter on the flank where you have the ball, because this is where they are as well, especially if they have Cruz in this position. They have a little bit more cover. Maybe Carvajal has pushed up, but you have the cover. Excuse me. So if you do regain the ball here, let's say Ryerson puts in the tackle, it's not an instant counterattack on this flank. They can find space if maybe Cruz is out of position or Mendy's pushed a little bit too far up. You can find the space. But I think just like we saw with this chance here, the space for them as well is, if everyone's condensed, then the space is absolutely on this side here. For both teams. Whether you're Real Madrid or Borussia Dortmund, if you're playing over here, this is where you can get in. So Chan obviously down there, but if Adeyemi's over here, it doesn't take long for both teams to just attack over here. So if you're Dortmund, you're going to want to go over this way. And if you're Real Madrid, you're just going to want to do the same, but like this. So how do you stop it? Really curious to know what you guys think. Also, thank you so much. If you are enjoying the not really a podcast, but the live stream, could you please leave a like? I know that helps a lot. I was trying to hit 200 likes on the live stream, so if you could just drop a like on it right now, that would really help out. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We're going to be doing a lot of these live streams during the Euros, and with this software that I've been working on, we've got a lot of interesting things that we can do to speed up the content a little bit, because how are we going to keep up with all these changes in managers? There's too many managers on the move. I don't know what to do. There's too many videos to make, and I just can't keep up. So here we go, another counter-attack. Attacking really quickly on the right. I love it. Look at how many players Dortmund are pushing forward. Good switch in play. Maybe a bit slow. Yeah. I think that switch from Sancho was a good idea, but just maybe a little bit too behind. I think it was Brandt that tried to pick it up there. 1v1, but I love to see it. Counter-attack, just push everyone forward. Dortmund are on it. They know that they have a chance. And I said it once, I'll say it again. It's the year of the underdogs. We saw Atalanta. We saw what they did. Did anyone expect that? I definitely didn't. It was unbelievable, the way they just dismantled Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen. We saw Olympiacos versus Fiorentina. Well, some of us maybe saw it. It wasn't the best game, but again, Fiorentina were the favourites going into that match. Olympiacos, they played well. I think 1-0 was a deserved result. It wasn't the best game, but it was a good game, and Olympiacos won, technically the underdogs. Is it the season of the underdogs? Let me know. You see Rodrigo covering for Carvajal on that Dortmund counter. Yeah, so you might need to have these players. So if they are, Carvajal is going to be exposed. So I think it's interesting. It's all happening on the right flank. Well, technically it's happening on the left flank, but that's the beauty of football is you never look at where the ball is. Because if you keep looking at where the ball is, you're missing what's happening. So Dortmund building with a 3-2 structure. That's a really common build structure, especially in the modern game, in the Premier League. So many teams build with a 3-2. And I think, there's obviously a specific reason, right? Because if you have two pivots, it gives you a lot of passing combinations. So in this case, they had I think it was Maatsen that stayed in. If you have these two players here, it does make it difficult to press. Because if you have all these players, you have to commit quite a lot, and usually you're not going to get a team, especially like Real Madrid. They're playing with two strikers, so they're not gonna have Bellingham really push onto Hummels as well, especially if you stagger it a little bit like a diamond. So you end up with like a little bit of a pentagon in the center. Bellingham's maybe going to be a little bit more conservative. Camavinga's here. It's difficult to press the 3-2, and it does free up an extra player as well on the flank. So especially Real Madrid, both teams, they have a lot of players in the center. So anytime the ball goes out wide, there has to be a choice made. Great ball through the middle there. Is he going to get it? He's on it. Oh, good dummy. Dortmund just trying to keep the pressure on up here. Oh, Sancho with an elastico. Didn't quite pull it off, but good idea. Love to see it in a final. Oh, nearly through. Courtois just missed it. And it's pointed for a foul on Mendy, it looks like. Didn't actually see the tackle. How to stop Real Madrid. Keep interrupting, drop low, let them compact. When they have some momentum, counterattack. Seems logical, yeah. So we looked at both teams are quite dangerous from counterattacks, but I think counterattacks are definitely what Dortmund should rely on for this match, and it's what they are relying on. If they can get Real Madrid to continuously like cluster to this side of the pitch, maybe their game plan is to get Carvajal, because like you guys were saying, Carvajal's good. He can get into these positions, but maybe his actual final ball into the box is something that Dortmund have said, we can deal with this. We know it's coming. So maybe this is exactly their game plan. They want to be a little bit more exposed on one flank, trying to lure Real Madrid further up the pitch and then hit them in behind. But again, we can just see how quickly any of these two players can just end up. I love Valverde as well. Heavy touch from Carvajal there. That was a good move. I like it. It's difficult to analyze Real Madrid because, again, like even Dortmund, you can see like a clear defensive structure. You can see kind of more clear principles. With Real Madrid, like every time it just changes. But it's kind of the beauty of the team as well, because they're so dynamic that every move is completely different. Very risky build-up. Nice little foul on the keeper. Yeah, it was definitely a foul. That looked a bit aggressive. Quite late. No, he's not. Oh, he is going to book him. I don't think he'd book him. This is a really interesting thing as well that from the modern game. So obviously, build-up is now fundamental for every team, essentially. Even if you choose not to build up, that is a choice of build up in a way. If your build up is long balls, that is essentially a tactic that you employ as well. But what I like to see is the fact that goal kicks now, it's past few seasons anyway, since they changed the rule, I think it was like 2018, where you could have players in the box. It's now the centre backs that pass it to the keeper. So that's interesting, because if it's the keeper that passes it instantly to the centre-back, well, then that's instantly a pressing trigger for the opposition. So centre-back has the ball, that's one-on-one, I can press, and then the ball just goes back to the keeper. But it's just a little bit more confusing. If your first pass is to the keeper, well, then do you instantly press the keeper? Because then this guy, Hummels, for example, could just get the ball and push forward, and you have space to push up. But if you don't press the keeper, then the keeper can just push up. And now you have a 3v2 in the center. The opposition, maybe they're a little bit further back, and you can gain a more of an advantage. And then the whole idea of using the keeper is essentially at one point you want someone to close him down, because as soon as the keeper is closed down, if he's good enough, he can find a pass in the center. These third man passes like this. So for example, if Vinicius makes this run here, let's do a dashed line. Let's show off a little bit of what this software can do. So if you make this Vinicius makes this run, then it's pretty quick for Dortmund to just pass it around him. And again, I know it's a lot of what De Zerbi was doing. Let's consider last season De Zerbi at least. Let's have some fond memories of what he brought. Obviously, still a great manager. This season was a little bit more difficult, but I think that's what Brighton should expect, really, because they're kind of like a team that's going to look completely different every season. That's the business model that they've adopted. I think every manager is going to have to accept that. And I'm pretty worried that might be the direction Chelsea are taking as well, because if you look at Brighton, their business model is obviously working. They're making a lot of money, and I'm scared that Chelsea have fallen into this trap that winning isn't everything anymore, because you can make money. If you win the Champions League and you get 30 million, that's great, or whatever you get. I'm not entirely sure what you get. But if you can sell a player you buy a player for 10 million, sell him for 50 player, you've made more money. And essentially, yeah, as a business, that works better. But is that really what we want to see? I'm obviously not. As a fan of the club, as a fan of the game, that's not. You want to see your team win. You want to see them build the best team. You want to see them hire the best managers. So, yeah, a little bit of a rant over. So yeah, dropping back into a 4-4-2. Dortmund, that is. Cruz essentially is an extra centre-back in this game, isn't he? Playing with a back three, with both fullbacks. So Carvajal obviously a lot further up the pitch, but Mendy a little bit more in support in this kind of half space. Not too out wide, but not too central. And there he goes, cutting into the half space with Vinny. So let's see if Real Madrid try and overload. So yeah, a little bit of a foul there. Did look a little bit aggressive. What do you think about controlled directness? Can you tell me exactly what you mean by that, so I can maybe explain a little bit more? Do you essentially mean like condensing to one side of the pitch and then trying to play through it. Loving the concept with live YouTube with the game. Love it. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. If you haven't dropped a like, please leave a like. That really helps the stream. Yeah, Kroos and Rudiger, both capable of playing these passes from like this position. But I think it's not really working in the sense, obviously Dortmund are playing with a deep line, right? So it's going to be difficult for Kroos to be super effective from that position. But obviously still, it doesn't take much. It just takes like a couple runs. Maybe it's not even Vinicius or Vinny they're looking for, especially if they have Rodrigo coming over as well. Maybe it is just a bit of a decoy, trying to lure them off their line a little bit more. Fans seem to be enjoying it. It is a good game. Very open. Right, who do you guys think is going to be the first to score? Regardless of the team, I just want to know a player. Whoever wins, doesn't matter. I want to know if you think Fulkrug is going to score first, if it's Vinny who's going to score first. Really enjoying this over German TV commentary. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I think the TV commentator should be more like this. Thank you. I'm realizing as I'm doing it that it's quite difficult to actually watch the game. So maybe we need some hosts. We need some guests on the podcast. Maybe let me know if we should get some guests on. See if this is a format that we can take a little bit further. Because every now and then I look and then they're through on goal and I'm like, oh, I meant to be saying what they just did there. Valverde crazy goal after Dortmund missing everything. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Again, ooh, all right, think about this. Think about this for a second. All right, ball goes out to Vinny. Ryerson pushes up. They come in. Rodrigo's over here. So what Sabitzer going to do? He's obviously going to come over. Hummels is coming. Carvajal's pushed up, right? We know he's going to do that. Have we heard much of Valverde yet? No, we haven't. That's the secret. Ball's going to come into Camavinga. We've got this. Here's the decoy. Here's the plan. Ball to Bellingham. They're going to pretend. So Matson's going to open up. Boom, Valverde. This ball here. Not Bellingham. The ball here. That's it. I've called it. That's how Real Madrid are going to score. Will I delete the live afterwards? No, I don't think so. I think I'll leave it up, even though everything I've said is probably going to age like milk, but you might as well leave it. What do you guys think? I think Valverde is the secret here. Half space Valverde. Double decoy. You thought it was Carvajal, but it's actually Valverde. There it is, yeah. But essentially, that's why Ancelotti's so good. Oh, wait, hang on. Dortmund on the counter. These balls into the middle, a little bit behind, just slowing it down a little bit. Oh, outside the box. Good save. Oh, I miss Courtois. Obviously, that wasn't the best save he's ever made. That was a pretty standard save for him, but I just love him. I miss him. I don't know. He just made you more confident in goal, you know? It's going to be another tough day for Courtois. Yeah, but he loves it. He loves the pressure. Okay, corners. So we said set pieces might be a dangerous one this game. Might be something that we can exploit for both teams. But I think for Dortmund especially, they've got some good players in the box. Out onto the edge. I think Sancho cutting inside. Yeah, Real Madrid just compacting the box really well, making it quite difficult for them to push forward. He's a cheat code of a keeper, yeah. I haven't played FIFA in a long time. I wonder what his rating is on that, if he's still one of the best out there. In fact, yeah, who is the best rated keeper on FIFA in the modern game? I'm going to say... Who do I think it is? God, I don't know. Edison, but he hasn't really played much. Nah, it's probably not him. I don't know. I actually don't know who would be the highest rated keeper right now. What's the difference between Real Madrid and other teams when it comes to Champions League? Okay, thank you for reminding me, actually. That's something I wanted to talk about. Oblak is the top rated. Oh, wow. I think, again, going back to what we were saying at the start of the podcast, I keep calling it a podcast, but what we were saying at the start of the stream is, if you're a manager like Ancelotti, that you're so good at essentially just putting the players in the best position. And Sancho's through, little cutback. Again, we saw it in the statistics. Cutbacks were going to be a thing. We knew it was coming because if we look at the numbers, where was it? the numbers. Cutbacks. Oh, actually, not too high. What was I thinking of? I was thinking of something. Maybe it was dribbles. But yeah, cutbacks for Real Madrid, really important. Not too important. But what was I saying? Yeah, when it comes to Champions League, I think tactics are obviously going to be different compared to the league. So again, this was from an article that I read recently on Ancelotti. Is if you're a manager like Guardiola, who has a system and the players and everyone falls into the system, so maybe you sacrifice a little bit of your individual quality for the team as a whole. So maybe this isn't your preferred role, but you know if you do this, then your team is going to find space. And Vinny's in, just talking about space. He's in on the left. Good tackle. That was an absolutely phenomenal tackle. And he knows it. Look at that. He knows it. But when it comes to a manager like Ancelotti, so he's a lot more reliant on making the players the focal point of his team. So like we were saying, if Real Madrid win the Champions League, it's Vinny, it's Bellingham, it's Kroos, it's those players. But if Man City wins the Champions League, it's Guardiola, and then the players, obviously. But it seems like Guardiola gets the headlines, not really like Ancelotti. And I think that works in a competition like the Champions League because you have superstars. And when it's the biggest games, they show up and they can win games for you. Even when you least expect it, they can just switch it right on a dime and they can just turn the game on. So even this, Dortmund, they've been, I'd say, dominant. Even though maybe statistically speaking, the stats have disappeared actually, but statistically speaking, Real Madrid are maybe on top on possession and passes. But Dortmund, I think it's safe to say they've had the bigger chances. But it's Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid. They can easily just, it doesn't take much. They have superstars that can just score from nothing and just take it instantly. So I think that works in a competition like the Champions League. But in the league, they obviously won it this season. But I think a lot of teams in La Liga weren't up to scratch. I think just Real Madrid right now are completely dominant. If you just look at the players, they're completely dominant. But I think tactics like Ancelotti's are maybe not as league efficient because your superstars, they're not going to be 100% all the time. They're not going to be win you games, 38 games a season. They're not going to win everything. When it's Champions League and it's more important, then yeah, it works well. In the league, maybe it's not as dependent because then you have substitutions, you have injuries, and then you maybe need a little bit more of a tactical system and more tactical reliance that you can fall back on if things aren't working properly. So I think that's why maybe Guardiola's more of a successful league manager and Ancelotti's more of a successful Champions League manager because different competitions call for different types of tactics. It's the same thing if you're looking at the Euros, and if you look at European team tactics or World Cup team tactics, national team tactics, generally speaking, they're pretty basic tactics. They're not too extravagant because you haven't got that long to work with the team. So you're not looking at inverted fullbacks who then actually turn out to be the striker and all this positional rotations. It's pretty simple. Okay, we build like this, we attack through these routes, and then obviously you have good players that can fill in the blanks. But it's a little bit of the middle ground between free-flowing superstars that you get with your national teams and structure. And it works well for tournaments to have a little bit of structure but a little bit of free-flowing. But if you took National League tactics and applied them to the league, it maybe wouldn't work too well because you need more of an idea if things aren't going well because not every game is going to go your way. So going back to the game, Dortmund without possession, rare high press, otherwise drop low and counter-attack. Dortmund with possession, from the back, lure Real Madrid into a high press, otherwise stretch the mid, cut through the middle. Yeah, so I would agree. I think you guys are spot on. You guys have really helped clear up the analysis of this game. It looks like Dortmund are not pressing too high up. They want to try and lure them into tight spaces and then just quickly attack once they're high up the pitch here. Ancelotti's revolution over the years from being locked to a 4-4-2 to then evolving to this kind of system with a lot of freedom at Real is really interesting. Yeah, so like he said himself, I think it was Zidane when he had Zidane at Juventus. That was what really switched his brain on to the idea of that if you have the right players, then that's obviously going to help you improve a lot as a manager. Like you can't just rely on a system. I think not signing Badger, that's gonna sting. If you say no, we don't need him. He doesn't fit a 4-4-2, mate. Badger doesn't work. Here we go again. Sancho's good. Pushing up. A little bit slow here. I think once it gets to these situations, I think Dortmund are not threatening anymore because they're good from set pieces because they have big defenders and maybe Fulkrug is good as well. They have big physical players, but once it's a counter-attack, if you think about it, all their attacking set of players are quite small. So when it actually comes to a structured attack in the box, other than the striker, they're not too good at maybe heading it, finding opportunities like tight spaces. So I think, yeah, their danger is if they have space behind the defense. But if the defense is compact, then it's going to be difficult. And they're not really a team that I see rotating possession around the back too often. But here we go. We got another corner. Zonal marking from Real Madrid. I wonder if you guys have a preference, zonal marking or man marking. I'm more of a mixed. I like it when teams have maybe a couple players on the post like this, but then the rest of the players are man marking. Zonal marking, I think, it depends on the team. Obviously, at a high level like Real Madrid, it's going to work. But again, it's not my favorite. No particular reason. Again, so a lot of people asking about the app. So this is the Football Meta software that I've been working on. Again, it's not available yet, but it should be relatively soon. Just working on ironing out some of the kinks, just making it sure it's useful for you guys as well. If you guys are analysts or want to create your own content, then hopefully this should be available for everyone to use relatively soon. What would be the tactics of Real Madrid if Mbappe joins? So I was actually talking to a Real Madrid fan the other day, and they were saying that they thought Mbappe would be played down the middle, and you'd have Vini just play out wide. So maybe Real Madrid switch back to a 4-3-3. But in that case, so that's the end of the first half. In that case, I don't know exactly what you do with Bellingham. Do you play him as a box-to-box in this position? You have Mbappe. But imagine a front three of Vini, Rodrigo, and Bellingham up top. That's scary. So that was a really, really good first half. Let me know your thoughts. Oh, my mic. Really enjoyed it. So we had a look at the tactics. We kind of get a good idea of what both teams are trying to do. So it does look like the majority of the play is happening down the left flank. So we've got these overloads with Vini, with Rodrigo, with Bellingham, with Kroos in a slightly deeper position trying to find it. And then if the defending team, in this case Borussia Dortmund, they switch over to this side, then Real Madrid have Carvajal on the right flank, which could be dangerous. So I'm curious to see if any changes are made in the second half, if they want to try and counter this in any specific way. Because if you think about it, Real Madrid, they were only really got through once. They only had a semi-decent cross from Carvajal in that position. But I think maybe the position of Valverde as well could be a little bit more effective in the second half. But simultaneously as well, it doesn't look like Dortmund are too bothered with Real Madrid overloading this left flank too much, because they have the speed. They have the speed up top. They have these players like Adeyemi and Sancho who, if Real Madrid lose the ball in this position, then he's here. He's ready. And this team is not Kroos, but obviously Rudiger and Nacho. Carvajal's taken out of the equation if they're quick enough. Dortmund could be dangerous. I wonder if there's any interesting substitutions that could come in on the second half of both teams. But yeah, I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts. Are you still confident? So I'm looking at the poll. We still have 55% for Dortmund. Leave your vote if you haven't yet. And again, if you haven't left a like, please leave a like. Really helps the stream. Thank you. We've passed 200 likes. That's all I wanted for today's stream. Maybe we can hit 250. But I'm happy. So I really hope you guys are enjoying it. This is a little bit of a trial and error for me as well. I see Gattuso's in the chat. Phenomenal player. Hopefully it's really him. Great fan from Somalia. Thank you guys. Really appreciate the comments. Really appreciate you guys helping out. Yeah, just helping me understand as well, because I'm trying to keep up with the tactics, but I'll be honest, I'm missing quite a bit. So I need you guys to fill me in. So yeah, this is my software. Working on it with, obviously I didn't develop it. Well, as in I didn't actually program it. I'm not much of a programmer, but I'm working with a programmer who's a good friend of mine who is helping me out. And then I've got another friend of mine helping me with these chips. So little trial. If you want, you can change the color of the team to whatever you want. So I was hoping you'd get the teams would be like blue and red or something like a little bit more clashy, so I could show a little bit more of a contrast between the pegs. Unfortunately, yellow and white isn't the best counter. So it's a little bit too similar, but it doesn't matter. Still, yeah. So again, lots of things. We're going to have different perspectives on this pitch as well. And we're going to have the similar billboards that we have from the videos as well. That is a great feature that I really love. I hope you guys appreciate too from the videos. So yeah, I see a lot of people tuning in from halftime. Let me know your thoughts. Did you enjoy the first half? Again, we've tried to analyze, and I think we figured it out. We've cracked the code. We could basically manage both these teams. Maybe we should start the trend of crowdfunding, not really crowdfunding, but crowd managing a team. So no manager, we just have a little laptop on the side of the bench, and it's just a constant running chat. And then someone checks the chat and then says, oh, this player needs to do this. And then we do it. And let's see how far we can get. Let's start a team all together and we just chat through the game and let's just see how far we go. We win the Champions League. How many medals do we get? 200? How many people in the chat? 300 concurrent views. Let's get 300 winners medals. I think that could work. That could be a revolution. Or maybe not. But if it doesn't work, we just end the stream, you know? Doesn't really matter. What do I think about Flick managing Barcelona tactically? I'll be honest, I haven't seen much of Flick recently. I'm going to fill in that. I'm still trying to catch up with all the changes in the Premier League. Too many managers on the move, too many signings already. So it's difficult for me to keep up. I love it. I love the fact that there's a lot because sometimes you go through some periods where there's not too many. But yeah, so a lot of people joining in. So let's just break down some of the main tactics of what we noticed in the first half. So essentially, hopefully you guys saw it too when you're watching the game live, but Real Madrid have a lot of players in this position. So essentially Rodrigo as well, starting as the second striker, but very often was the player on the left flank here with Vinny in this position. And then obviously Dortmund are forced to push over. You can't leave these three players with too much space. So you have to commit a lot of players. And essentially a lot of the game was this position here for Real Madrid. Obviously talking, this is the main area that they were trying to attack. But as good analysts that we all are, that I'm noticing in the chat, the real danger is this place over here. So again, Real Madrid maybe found it once. They go through Camavinga. I keep picking up the player, but they go through Camavinga, Valverde, and then Carvajal over here. But if they're quick enough, I think maybe a solution could be push Bellingham up a little bit more, get Kroos more involved, and then Kroos from this position, he can instantly find this space. So if Kroos is given time on the ball here instead of where he is now, which is around down here, that could be something. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. Because maybe if Kroos is here, then he's not going to have too much time on the ball. But if you watch the game and you guys... I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing the board. I need to start over. Sorry about that. My bad. I was too focused on my board. I wasn't looking. So we have a lot of players on this position here. So Real Madrid focusing a lot of their players on this side here. Kroos was usually down here most of the half. So lots of players here. Obviously, Dortmund, they're going to have to push a lot of players over to try and stop this. Bellingham maybe in this position. And as we were saying, the key danger for Real Madrid is going to be, it looked like it was going to be this ball over here. So obviously not directly. Rodrigo probably didn't attempt this directly, but we're on the pitch. Yeah, we're on the pitch. Okay. So then moving it back, Camavinga, Valverde, and then moving it around to this side here. But what we were saying just now, maybe an idea could be having Kroos push a little bit further up. Obviously, then you need a little bit more support if you lose this player here. So Camavinga maybe has to drop. But Kroos definitely has the ability to play. I'm going to show you a quick animation as well. So Kroos definitely has the ability to play this ball over here. Let's get this animation going. Like this. So if Kroos can find this space over here, look at that animation, then that could be quite dangerous. But as you guys probably noticed watching the game, Real Madrid really, maybe once they were able to find this space. Again, we're thinking maybe if Valverde pushes up a little bit, they could. But the real danger was coming from Borussia Dortmund's counterattacks. Specifically, because Real Madrid are pushing these players up, we have this space over here. Adeyemi's been really dangerous pushing forward. But also these balls from behind it. Hummels played an excellent pass into this position here from a slightly more structured position. But again, if Real Madrid commit a lot of players, they also need to be ready to for these counterattacks, because if you've got a lot of players there, then there's gonna be space for the teams to exploit. And yeah, looking at the statistics as well, it does look like Dortmund was slightly on top on number of the quality of the chances. Yeah, I'm worried that the chances that Dortmund have missed is gonna maybe bite them back a little bit. Like, it's Real Madrid. Like we said during the stream, it's going to be difficult for them to keep doing this, because Real Madrid, they don't need that many chances. If you notice, every team that plays against Real Madrid, they need at least 5 or 6 chances to at least get a goal or something like that. Real Madrid, they need one. They need half a chance and they'll score. So again, I think it's gonna be scary for Dortmund if they don't start converting these chances, and it's gonna get harder and harder as the game progresses for them to be able to do that. So a little bit of an injury scare for Chan. Actually, I might have missed it if he got substituted. I think he's all right. I think he came back on. Let me know in the chat if I need to make a change to any of the players. We'll see if the managers adopt any changes at halftime. That's something that's happening a little bit more frequently, is like changes that seem to be happening a little bit more in the match. But I think maybe a little bit later in the match. I think now that you have 5 substitutions, you have a lot more substitutions, especially with extra time a possibility as well. It's difficult to you don't want to make your subs too early, because the game could go on for so much longer than you expect, that it might be a little bit difficult. Yeah, Real Madrid with 0.09 XG, so not great. I'm curious to know what Dortmund's XG is from the first half. Probably a little bit higher, although I'm assuming Adeyemi's chance where he rounded the keeper wasn't the best XG, because actually Carvajal got in, didn't he? 1.68. Oh wow, that's high. Yeah, that's high. That's really high. Yeah. So 1.68, no goals. See, that might be a little bit of a talking point after the game. Oh, Hummer's on the right. Thank you. Yeah, just trying to keep track of where all the players are. So let's set them up for the second half as well. Need to reset the timer as well. Thank you. Yeah, timer's stopped. Oh, need to change that to second half as well. There we go. Yeah, this is my software. Yeah, it's again not available yet, but should be available soon. We're working on it slowly, trying to make sure it's as good as possible before it goes to wider release. The idea is to have a free version, but then obviously a paid version with a little bit more customization options as well. But don't want to give too much away. Something hopefully it'll be available soon. Do you think Ten Hag's main problem is he doesn't want his fullback to press because he doesn't want his centre-backs to be exposed? Do you think this will change if he gets better defenders? So, yeah, it does seem like sometimes Man United's press is a bit inefficient, because especially if the ball goes out here, you get a lot of teams that do push up on the flank over here. But maybe Man United are a little bit too conservative, and it is quite easy to beat their press. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of players that Man United might need for them to be dangerous next season, to pick up a little bit more. I think Ten Hag deserves a little bit more time, especially after the FA Cup. Obviously, I'm not going to say it's been great. It's been pretty poor. They've been pretty underwhelming to watch this season, but I think there's a lot of things outside their factor. There's not just the team, the players. A similar situation to Chelsea in many ways. It's like kind of a rebuild, not gone well, spent a lot of money on the wrong players. How much can you blame the manager? I don't know. I don't want to get too into it, because there's some very strong opinions on Ten Hag. But yeah. What do you think about Ancelotti ball? I think that his game close to the relationism, which is Fernando Deniz's game. Yeah, so I think Ancelotti can be seen as a little bit more of a European version of what you'd call relationism. So relationism essentially is just like no structure whatsoever, which is lovely to see. It's really fun to see, but I think in Europe, you need a little bit more structure. So you need something a little bit in between, especially just to break the ice with this new way of playing, because I do believe that we are going towards less positional football. I'm personally getting a little bit bored of positional play. It's just a little bit too consistent. But I think not consistent, but it's just a little bit too same. Like even Man City, they're obviously extremely dominant. They have great players, great individual players, but you kind of know what to expect from them. They're just going to play the ball, and there's always the players in the same position. The chances are pretty similar. But I think with Real Madrid, it's fun because their chances come from different positions, but they are slightly more structured than Fernando Diniz. I think, again, we are going towards a world where teams are more fluid and more dynamic and positions are less important. But I think you need to break the ice with that, and I think I think that needs to happen slowly for teams and managers to understand exactly what's happening. Will you keep recording of this stream up after the game? Yeah, of course. Yeah, this stream will be available. I think I'll try and cut it down, maybe get a little bit of a highlight of what's happening during the game as well. Get some clips going as well. What do you think about Enzo Maresca at Chelsea, and how will he impact Chelsea regarding tactics and players? So, like we were saying now, I haven't seen much about Maresca, but from what I hear, he's very positional. As a disciple of Jurgen Klopp, you'd kind of expect that. You'd kind of expect a manager that coached under Guardiola to have similar principles. So I think he plays like a 3-2-5 as well. But I've heard mixed thoughts, mixed opinions. A lot of Leicester fans are quite happy to see him go. A lot of Leicester fans are quite upset. A lot of fans were frustrated with his style of play towards the end of the season. So there's a lot to analyse. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to understand why he was the choice for Chelsea in the end. I think it seems like a weird appointment. I feel like there's something behind the scenes as well that maybe we don't get to see so much. But I don't know. I'm curious. I think there's potential. But it's an even weirder signing than Graham Potter. And Graham Potter was a risk, but at least he did well with a Premier League club. Maresca had a semi-decent... He had a good season with Leicester, but Leicester had, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest budget in the Championship, and the second half of the season, they were pretty underwhelming. I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on whether he doesn't adapt enough. He used his substitutions quite late. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's the most... consistent opinion of like he's a top manager and he's always going to be good and the fans will love him. I don't know. It seems a bit mixed, but I'm curious to see where it goes. I like a lot of new managers. I'm curious to see. The Premier League is going to be completely different, especially without Klopp. I know Klopp's watching the game in the stadium. They filmed them a couple times during the first half. Oh, look at that fan. That's quite cool. Support from, I think it was Dortmund. Can you explain why they did the pause in the first 10 minutes? I think there was a pitch invader. I think so anyway. I love how in the second half, this is the biggest game in club football and the stadium is still half empty when they kick off. It's funny because I actually went to Wembley to watch like an FA Cup semi-final, and you understand it. If you have like hospitality, you're in there drinking champagne, you kind of forget that you're actually there watching a game of football. I always find it funny. It's like Champions League final. I don't know how much these tickets cost. And yeah, you're not even ready for the second half. But nonetheless, we are ready. And let me know if there have been any substitutions. It's hard for me to see from the phone. I'll see if there's... Doesn't look like it, just looking at the players. It looks like... And we are ready to go. Okay, 0-0, second half. Thank you everyone who joined at the end of the first half, who wanted to see what we were doing. Okay, let's get the tactics board going. Let's make sure that that's being filmed. Okay, and we're ready to go. So what do we think second half? Do we think it's going to be a similar style from the first half? I think yes. I think if we're seeing any changes, these are likely to come a little bit further down the line. Maybe in the 60th minute, there might be some substitutions being made. But interesting here to see Mendy pushing up into the half space, giving Vinny a little bit more support on the flank. I think he did make this run a couple times in the first half. Here we go, Carvajal on the right. So yeah, Real Madrid looking to control possession instantly, maybe committing a lot more players forward. Slightly more positional attack this one in the opposition's half, and a bit of a rushed pass from Valverde there. That's a tricky one when you're trapped on the flank like that, because I feel like Valverde, even he knows it's a bit of a hit and hope. But here we go. Here's what we were saying with Dortmund. They're so quick on the counter, doesn't take much. All they need is one correct pass. Oh, is that a good idea? Yeah, that looks like a good idea. Maybe a bit slow. But I think in these situations, once Sancho has the ball in this position, and Real Madrid can get their defense set up, I think it just gets a little bit too difficult for Dortmund to create a chance. And I think that's not how they're going to get through. They might do. Again, I'm ready to be proven wrong. But these players, Sancho, Adeyemi, Brandt, all these players, even if the fullbacks push up, Fulkrug can add support, they're quick. So, but they're not positional. They're not good at finding. They're not the best at finding like space here, especially against Rudiger and Nacho and Mendy, and especially against these like world-class defenders here. Maybe in the league every now and then it works, but in the Champions League final, attacks like that are going to be tricky. But set pieces, mentioned that a lot in the first half. Set pieces are a crucial one for Dortmund, something that they likely can exploit. But here we go, Real Madrid on the counter. So counters can work both ways, obviously. Vini, extremely dangerous. He can do it all by himself. But then these situations, Real Madrid, I think, are still much more dangerous from a situation like this compared to Dortmund. From a positional attack, if they do get a lot of players forward, I think the danger for Dortmund is bigger than the danger for Real Madrid in a similar situation. Because if you think about it, just Bellingham on the edge of the box, Camavinga adding support with Cruz, Valverde, Rodrigo, lots of players that can cause you a lot of issues. Hello, Matt. No, I haven't done a video on Sir Alex. Not yet, anyway. Maybe I'll do a video on Sunderland. Rotate Carvajal back, push Rodrigo center right. Okay, so slightly more conservative. What, and then have Mendy push up on the left, or use Valverde a little bit more? Because, again, maybe I missed it, but it doesn't seem to me that Valverde did too much in the first half, maybe a little bit too conservative, especially if Carvajal is pushing up. Yeah, you can't really commit too many players forward, but dangerous free kick on the edge of the box now. Oh, good stop. Very good save. That was very good. That was, yeah, top corner. Ooh, so yeah, set pieces can be dangerous for both. Looking at the poll, it still feels like people think Dortmund deserve to win. Again, if you haven't cast your vote, we've got nearly 1,000 votes in the poll. If you haven't cast your vote, yeah, definitely vote. Let's see if we're right. I think someone asked about Cruz. Yeah, so Cruz, yeah, Zahir. So yeah, Cruz in this position is playing like a little bit deeper here. It's something he does quite a lot during the league, just generally for Real Madrid. It's a difficult one to stop because he's got such a good passing range that if he's playing in this position down here, if the opposition press, then he can quickly find like players in behind with a long ball. So it's kind of like trying to draw players out. So maybe he frees up more space for Bellingham, Camavinga, for Valverde. But also it gives him time to switch play and find the dangerous players. So again, if Rodrigo pushes over, maybe Carvajal has found time to push up, then these switches can come from Cruz quite frequently, or he's just adding extra support. So maybe the quicker left backs, because Cruz obviously a world-class ball player, but he's not the quickest, especially now. So if he's playing in a slightly more conservative position, it's playing to his strengths. Good stop there. I think maybe a little tad offside. And okay. So yeah, good chance from Maatsen there. Difficult shot, good block. I think it's Maatsen inverting maybe. Maybe adding a little bit more support in the center. So I feel, let's see how structured attacks from these positions. I think, it would make sense if you could add extra support in the center here. Just trying to figure out how it would work, what kind of positions they each need to pick up. Dortmund taking a lot of short corners in this game. Short corners, I really like them. I don't feel like you see too many of them, especially maybe in the Premier League, which is where I watch. I feel like a lot of corners are direct. Some teams, maybe Arsenal, they have a lot of free kick routines, set piece routines. But some teams, I feel like they rely a lot on different types of direct corners. So either front post or back post, or maybe like, I don't know what you call it, like really long, really far on the back post for like a knock back across. But I don't feel like you see too many short corners. I remember when I was coaching, we played against a team that they always brought 3 players on like a short corner, and it was really difficult to stop because they were all like really quick, really good at dribbling. And I feel like that's a similar concept with like Dortmund. If you bring Sancho and Adeyemi and had 3 players on like a corner kick over here, you just played it short into these 3 little guys here, and they could just make it past, like cross it into the middle from there. Could be fun, but then again, you are going against Real Madrid, so don't know how effective that's going to be. But again, another corner, slightly mixed zonal marking. Haven't seen much of Dortmund in this position, not necessarily from corners, but just in the opposition's half, like controlling the tempo from higher up the pitch, which I think is part of their game plan as well. Not the sound effect. Yeah, it's not really something. We looked at that in their field tilt as well. So in the statistics as well, you can kind of get a feel for that if you look at their field tilt. So essentially, this shows you where they want to have the ball. Dortmund, they don't have the ball too high up. You see, they have good possession. I forgot to include the numbers on the slides, but I think this is about a 64-65% possession. But their field tilt is only about 50%, which usually means that if they have the ball, they have it in their own half, maybe not so much trying to like press the opposition in the opposition's half. If you look at a team like Man City, their field tilt is like 75%, because they're always like really attacking further up the pitch. But yeah, Dortmund maybe a little bit more stable in the second half, a little bit more control of the pitch, at least in these first 3 minutes anyway, 5 minutes. Playing with back 2. Madsen's quite high up and quite central as well. It's quite an interesting position. And you've got the 2 players here. And then, yeah, these counters from both teams could be quite dangerous. Right, let's get these pegs sorted out again. Yeah, short corners work well against zonal marking. That is true, because you force them to make a decision. If it's just man marking, they're just going to follow you out. But if it's zonal, then what are they going to do? They're going to wait for you to take it short and then move, because then what do? Do you shift to a man marking? Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Best player so far? That's actually a difficult one. I'm going to throw that back to the chat. I'm not entirely sure who I would say my favorite player so far. I think it's weird. I think defensively, Dortmund have been really good. Hummels has played a few good passes forward. Defensively, hasn't let anything get past him, really. So I think he's had a good game. Can't really say too confidently, because again, trying to analyze, I've missed maybe a few of the players. What about Bellingham? Have you guys seen much of him this game? Yeah, Ryson's been really good, especially because a lot of the play has happened on his flank, on his side of the pitch. So it's a difficult one for him to deal with. So I think, yeah, this combo here of Ryerson and Hummels has been really good. Madsen's also been really good. Yeah. Dortmund, generally speaking, I think have been the better team. Maybe again the stats are pointing slightly against it with the number of possession and passes and shots, but the quality of shots I think is definitely better, especially with the XG, nearly 0.09 XG to 1.6 XG, 1.6 XG, and it's still 0-0. That's dangerous. Kroos, yeah, lots of shouts for good players. Here we go. Rudiger with an excellent switch. Unbelievable touch from Vinny. Good move from Real Madrid, just trying to control the tempo a little bit more in the opposition's half. And there's a foul. I'm not sure if that's a foul. Carvajal a little bit angry there. I hope it's not one of those games that is decided by just like a corner kick. I want to see some good moves. I want to see some proper goals, some build up, some some high pressing. Yeah, this is mostly what Dortmund did in their other games in the Champions League. They just slowly sat back, defended really, really well, but just pretty compact 4-4-2, 4-1, 4-1, and then just counterattacking the whole game. But as we've seen, they can be really dangerous. It's just these situations. If Carvajal's in, there we go. So a little bit of what we were saying. So it kind of worked a little bit further advanced, but Carvajal is proving to be the extra player in Real Madrid's attack. Bellingham adding support in the center, but it's difficult. So it's forcing them to shift quite far back. Ryerson, doing really well on this flank. But again, if the ball comes into the box, you've got some players that are able to finish these off. So yeah, I'm curious to see if it's consistently going to be Carvajal that's pushing up on the right flank, or if they maybe switch it, give more support to someone else. Valverde pressing a little bit higher up the pitch there as well. So maybe he's trying to get into the game a little bit more. Maybe Ancelotti's asked him to play a little bit more offensively. Pretty decent press from Real Madrid as well. Not too aggressive, but good enough to just slow down the move and just make sure that they can't build easily. And then this situation, Valverde stuck between the holding mid and the centre-back. And then here we go, long ball. Let's see if Adeyemi can keep it. Adeyemi's quick. That was a difficult ball to control. How would I rate this game so far? I think it's been good. I think there's been a few decent chances, especially for Dortmund. I think it's been a very open game. A little, not open, but the kind of like the chances that both teams are trying to create are from like open space. They're not trying to dominate the game too high up the pitch. They're just trying to control the ball in their own half and then create chances when there's space in behind. So I think that leads to less chances, but if there are chances, they're usually higher quality chances. So yeah, overall, maybe not so many shots. Kind of what I expected. A little bit of a cagey match, but moments where both teams have the chance to put their foot on the game, to take hold of the game, and it's just struggling to really take advantage of the shape of the position that they're in. So look at that. No strikers for Real Madrid in this move. Completely deserting the defensive line. I think that's interesting actually. So in this move here, they had Dortmund's defensive line was essentially around here, maybe a little bit outside the box. They had their midfield line maybe around here, 4-4-2 shape, and all of Real Madrid's players were like here. They weren't. Who was it? It was Vini, Cruz, Camavinga, Valverde. They weren't on the defensive line. They were just in front of it, and I think that's a very cheeky, very secret thing that they're trying to do. Is they want the defenders to close them down. And what Dortmund are doing really well is they're not. They're keeping their defensive line as straight as possible. They're making sure that this line isn't broken. So making sure that they can stay like this. Because what Real Madrid want is, what have I done? What Real Madrid have done is that if Hummels, for example, steps out to close Bellingham, then it frees up this space in behind that they absolutely can take advantage of and will take advantage of. So I think Dortmund are doing really well at keeping their line flat, not trying to play the offside trap, not trying to get caught into the pressure of closing down between the lines, because they know if the ball's in this position here between the lines, they have time. They have the players. They can get good central cover. These players are good in the center to make sure that they can't progress. So their main thing is just you're not getting any chances in behind, which I think is working well for them. Good ball into the center from Dortmund. And then, I think from these situations, my personal opinion is Dortmund shouldn't insist too much on just holding the ball that high up the pitch. I think they should move back a little bit. They should move back into their half, try and hold the ball in a deeper position, because if you can do that, then you can create these chances here with like longer switches. You can catch them in behind. Oh, that was risky from Carvajal. Shame. Couldn't take advantage of it. you feel like Dortmund are getting baited forward. So essentially you mean like this, like trying to push forward. I think, yeah, that's Real Madrid one. Oh, mistake, building from the back. That looked like a little bit of a foul to me. No play on. Here we go, counter-attack. So many counter-attacks. But a little bit of a misplaced pass. You see how quick it is for a counter-attack to just fizzle out? All it takes is a slightly misplaced pass. Like the speed of the game at this level is just insane. All it takes is a slightly misplaced pass, a slightly misplaced touch, and that's it. The moment's gone. Like you need every pass to be inch perfect in a counter-attack. It's really, really difficult because you're thinking, what do I have to do? I just need to pass it forward and make it past like 3-4 defenders, but there's 5 of us attacking forward. But you just do one pass that slows it down and the whole move is gone. That's why, yeah, maybe we're not seeing too many chances because maybe a bit nervous trying to pick out the perfect pass and sacrificing a little bit of time. Good ball, second post. Ooh. That was a good ball. That's a very Inter-esque cross. So the cross we just saw here, Adeyemi on this side. I'll just use a couple players to show. Inter are a team I absolutely loved watching a little bit of them this season because they don't cross the ball from here, which was, in my opinion, it's difficult to make that work effectively. But they're always crossing the ball from like this position here. The crosses are coming like this. They're not coming from like here. And this slightly more diagonal thing is really difficult to stop because the defense is still running backwards. So if you can just curve it past the first defender into like this position, it's then easier for the striker to... I don't know if it's easier for the striker to finish, but the striker, the chance is more likely that the striker is uninterrupted. It's more likely that he isn't being marked because if it's from this position and the cross is coming from this position like this, then at this point the defense is still, they're starting to push back up. And so it's difficult for the striker to find space. So again, these crosses can work, but it's less effective. So I think these types of crosses, the one that Adeyemi just delivered into the box, can be really, really dangerous. And here goes Vinny. Little cutback, doesn't quite work. But Bellingham being in the box a lot more in this second half, it looks like. Both teams committing a few more players to the attack. I think both managers have said you can risk it a little bit more. Thank you, Zahir. Appreciate that you're really enjoying these episodes. Let me know again. Yeah, you guys just leave comments. Let me know if there's any like specific tactics that you're noticing during the game that we can pick up on. Because again, there's so much that's happening during the game of football. It's impossible to cover everything live. And then again, when you're watching a manager like Ancelotti, just kind of enjoy it as well. Because not all of it is tactical. And that's kind of the beauty of it as well. That's why I feel like, in a way, we were kind of robbed of a final with Man City and Real Madrid playing earlier in the rounds. Obviously, both fantastic coaches, and I'm happy for Dortmund to be in this situation. Man City, Pep Guardiola versus Ancelotti just has a different ring to it. Like, there would be so much more hype around it. For me personally as well, being like a fan of the English game. So, changes Real Madrid in the second half. It does seem like Bellingham is pushing up a little bit more. Here comes Rodrigo. It does seem like Bellingham maybe was a little bit more defensive in the first half. I'm seeing him more in like the striker. So obviously as a attacking midfielder, as the number 10, you can see him do a little bit of both. But I think he's playing here a little bit more. And I think Real Madrid are starting to stretch a bit more. Starting to see Rodrigo out here. Carvajal maybe isn't the one over here, but he's maybe... I'm not entirely sure if he's inverting yet. But he's in this position. Not as much as in the first half where maybe it was Rodrigo in a more central position. Good ball into the box. Thank you, Azim. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So when you watch a game of football, how do you analyze a game tactically? And what things do you look out for? So my biggest tip when you're watching a game of football is to try and start from goal kicks. It may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but when I was working as an analyst for clubs, it's difficult to understand what a team wants to do from a from the start of the game, because the teams aren't really set up, and it takes a minute for the teams to sort each other out and then get into their positions, which is why from goal kicks you can get a good understanding of what teams are trying to do. So if you can understand what they want to do from there, and then the first thing I would try and understand is how many players are involved in the build-up. So we haven't seen too much build-up play from the back, from the goalkeeper in this match, but we saw Dortmund had maybe these two players here. They weren't right outside the box. They were a little bit further high up the pitch, which means that you can get a little bit more of an advantage in the first phase. So if the opposition presses quite high up the pitch, your goalkeeper can be involved, and you have a 3v2 in this position here, because these players are quite high up the pitch. Maybe they're out wide here. You can maybe stretch it and separate the press a little bit more, so there's more space in this position here. Kind of depends. To understand build-up, I would say try and understand what space the team wants to exploit. So a team like Brighton, I always use Brighton to Zerbi because his build-up, even though they didn't have the best season, but his build-up was really, really impressive to watch. They have a lot of players here because their space is more this one and this one here. They want to exploit these spaces here, not necessarily this one here. They use this space to drag the opposition into it, but they want to create space here. So just try and understand where they want to create space. And it's the same thing. Once you analyze build-up, you then move to what we're kind of seeing now. So this more structured attack in the opposition's half. Once the team has control of the ball, the defensive team is in their lowest block, let's say, or mid-block in this situation. There's different things you want to understand. So how many players are at the back? How many players are in midfield? How wide are the strikers? So in this situation, we're looking... Kroos is playing really deep this game. He's playing basically as... I kind of want to say an extra centre-back. Here we go, Bellingham on the edge of the box. Good ball back in. Good defending again from Dortmund, but it's getting a little bit... Seems like Real Madrid are getting a little bit more control of the game now. So yeah, Kroos playing really deep. Valverde again in this situation, on this player. Oh, that was a good ball. Very risky there. We're starting to see a little bit of the pressure mount. And I think that's what we were saying. It might be difficult for Dortmund. You don't take your chances against Real Madrid. They are absolutely going to take those. That was a good ball. I think the keeper could have absolutely done better. Bit late, very late actually. But that's a difficult one. I'm not going to give the keeper any suggestions because when I play in goal, I am scared of the ball. So in this situation, second half, Kroos, again, playing quite deep. I think that does allow the fullbacks to push up quite a lot. Adeyemi's been good, but I think Carvajal's just difficult. Again, from these situations, once the players slow down a little bit, it's going to be difficult for Dortmund to create their chances. Unless there's lots of space on the edge of the box. I think, yeah, both teams could do with a few substitutions. I wouldn't be surprised if Dortmund blink first. Not really blink, but they try and change the game first. I wonder if it's Royce coming on or anyone else. Probably you guys let me know if there's any decent players on the bench. Again, I know a few players from Dortmund, but I'm not too up to date on their season and which players are good, effective coming on off the bench. Same for Real Madrid. Obviously, Real Madrid's bench is stacked. They have a number of players who can come on. But substitutions are a tricky one because they can really, really change the game. So Madrid, yeah, slightly more, I want to say slightly more aggressive press. Not aggressive by any means, but on the edge of the box. As soon as, not closing down the keeper by any means, but if the centre-backs have the ball, then they're there, they're ready. They're not trying to force it. And it does, like you guys are pointing out, it does force Dortmund a little bit further long. They do have good hold-up play with Füllkrug up top. But if you want to play long, you need a lot of support in this position. So maybe you need Adeyemi and Sancho to move a little bit more closer. But then in this situation, then you're starting to deal with other players. So now you have Kroos, you have Camavinga, you have a lot of players in this position who are very good. This is their bread and butter. They're very good at stopping these moves. So it can be difficult for Dortmund to exploit these long balls. So I think they need to not fall for it. I think they need to try and continue to do what they were doing. Here he comes, Royce. Good ball. Very risky there. He was trying to get Big moment for him. I think he's going to bring some vibes to the team. It's a tricky one, though, because it's Kroos's final game as well. Let's not forget that. So who's your favorite German? Pick a German. Yes, I will be doing more live streams in the future. So I'm planning these for all the Euros. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. If you haven't left a like, please leave a like so we can get these to more people. We can start analyzing things together. But yeah, this is going to be a common feature during the Euros. We've got Royce, we've got Kroos. Actually, I'm going to start another poll. I want to get your guys' opinion for sure. So I think we've got over 1,000 votes on Dortmund versus Real Madrid. I think you guys have voted. We're all rooting for the underdogs here. We're rooting for Dortmund. So we're going to confirm that. 58%. Let's see. Royce. Curious. Make sure to vote. Vinny, Ballon d'Or season. I think so. I think the Ballon d'Or winner is on the pitch tonight. I'm curious. Do you guys think Vinny? Or do you think... Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Carvajal. The man of the first half, but not how we thought. 1-0 Real Madrid from a corner, from a set piece. We knew set pieces were going to be crucial. But I thought they'd go... If there was going to be a goal from a set piece, I thought it was going to be from Dortmund. I didn't think it would be from Real Madrid. That is a tough one, especially with Royce just coming on as well. Literally just adds a little bit of insult. His legacy comes on and starts with his team going 1-0 down. Actually, that could be the start of something special. But it's always Real Madrid. They always leave it to the last minute. Unbelievable. That was a great corner, great run. Great on the front post. So man marking. So in that situation, we can see maybe a little bit of the risks of man marking there. If you lose your man marking first post is quite difficult because you have to predict the run. So it's difficult to get in front of them. So if the cross is perfect, if you're running on the front post, you're often going to beat your man there. If you know that that's where the ball's going, if your team have planned it properly and you're running to the front post, they're difficult ones to finish because you have to kind of flick it on. But you're going to beat your defender there. So if you can get it over the two players in the wall here, then that's absolutely going to work. We're seeing Kroos 65%, Kroos 66%. So, 1-0 Real Madrid. Do you guys think Dortmund can make it back? From all the players, Carvajal, literally. I was hoping he'd score from open play in like the exact way that we'd predicted from the first half. Well, not really predicted. We're not really predicting anything here. We're just trying to analyze. But yes, it's in a way it's good that he scored because we spoke a lot about him in the first half. Just didn't expect it to be like that. Again, I thought it would be from open play, or if it was a set piece, that would come from Dortmund. But the game's definitely not done. If you were here right from the start of the stream, my prediction was 2-1 Dortmund. And that was because Real Madrid fans were way too confident. That was my only evidence. Not statistics-based, not tactics-based. It was just cocky Real Madrid fans. It's not over. It's not over. So let's try and understand what Dortmund could do now, because they're going to have to start pushing up. So Real Madrid are maybe going to get a little bit more conservative with their players. So slightly deeper maybe in possession, slightly deeper block. But the risks is, in my opinion, they start to push up. They have all these players that it leaves a lot of space for their quick players up top to counter-attack. So I think counter-attacks for Real Madrid now are obviously the way to go. That's what they're trying to do. But Dortmund have to commit. They have to start pushing players forward. Oh, who did Royce come on for? I think I missed that. Yeah, if Madrid sit back, it's going to be tough. Because like we were saying, Dortmund aren't really a team that can break like a structured defense, in my opinion. They need to break a team when there's space to do so in behind. So if they're doing it against a team that sit back, they're ready, it's going to be difficult. I think now they just need to focus, not concede another one right here. Oh, Bellingham. That was a big miss. Oh, thank you. Okay, so we'll get Royce. There we go. Difficult chance, but was that good? Oh, deflection. Very good defending. Wow. Unbelievable defending. So yeah, kind of what we noticed, Bellingham playing a little bit further forward in the second half. But we've got another corner now. Surely not 2 in a row. Good defending there. Here we go. Counter-attack. Very good block. I think Dortmund need an extra man in attack. Yeah, I think so too. I think it's time to commit. They risk losing control of the game. They've had a few since the goal. They haven't really been able to stabilize yet. Real Madrid are taking control, and yeah, these fouls on the edge of the box, this slowing the game down is definitely not what they need now. They need to focus. They need to control the ball. They need to start creating some chances. But it's kind of predictable when you're playing Real Madrid. If you don't score your chance, especially in the first half, then they're gonna come back. And that's exactly what happened. They seem to do it every game. I don't know how they do it. It's just the Ancelotti eyebrow raise. Thank you, Daniel. Really appreciate it. How important is it that the manager creates a good environment for the team? And how do we know as fans that the manager is creating a good environment? Jurgen Klopp. I think that's a prime example. If the manager is creating a good environment, the fans will know. You'll pick it up immediately because there's just like a synergy between the players. You'll notice, again, I use Chelsea as an example a lot because they're a team that I've watched a lot. You can tell when things aren't going well. The players are... remember when it was like Cole Palmer had a penalty and like 4 of them were fighting over it? That's not a good sign of like a team that's cohesive. Good save from the free kick. That's not a good sign of like a team that they all get along, that the manager's in control, that it's clear what the team wants. With a manager like Jurgen Klopp, you can tell the fans love him, the players love him. There's just a lot more control and stability like across the whole team as a whole. So Haller coming on. So Emre Can for Haller. Oh, for Malen, sorry. And Brandt for Haller. Good changes, aggressive changes. Do you think it's the right time? 80 minutes. There's probably going to be a few... probably change this to striker. So they're probably going, 2 strikers up top. Royce is attacking mid. Haven't seen much of him yet, but I think he's playing as the cam. So switching to a front 2 with Sancho, maybe a front 3. Sancho maybe moving to this side. Just trying to understand what they're trying to do, but it's getting tricky. They're not really getting on the ball. Struggling to keep control. Camavinga outside the box. Oh, great save. Unbelievable shot. That was a lovely save. Yeah, I think Real Madrid have upped the ante a little bit. They've just managed to control. It's getting difficult because they've compacted the middle really well. So Carvajal's not really maybe pushing up so much, but they've got these players out wide. They've got Bellingham, so putting a lot more pressure further up the pitch, struggling to get control of the game. So with these players up top now, Camavinga, Valverde, Cruz, all like just another corner, another great save. Very similar corner. Real Madrid really just slowing the game down, which, I mean, that's exactly what you do. We all, as neutrals, time wasting is probably the most frustrating thing to look at, but it makes sense. Like, obviously, it's what you're going to do, especially when you know that you've got 18 minutes of added time or whatever it's going to be coming. Actually, no, it probably won't be too long. Oh, that was a bad pass. Oh, that's really not what you need. Vinicius is in. There it is. 2-0. Terrible, terrible mistake at the back there. See, that's Real Madrid. That is Real Madrid right there. If you don't take your chances against Real Madrid, it will bite you back instantly. We saw it with Man City. We saw it with Bayern Munich. And we've seen it with every single season. Every time we play Real Madrid, this is just what happens. And 2-0, 10 minutes to go, 8 minutes to go. I think it's tough. They played really, really well. First half, they played really, really well. Hey, Matt. Thank you so much. Ancelotti ball with the eyebrow raise. Thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate it. Love it. Yeah, cheers. Okay, now I'll definitely make a video on Sunderland. If you make it to the Prem. Immediately punished, yeah. God, that must be heartbreaking for Royce. Comes on, 1-0. 2-0. Has he touched the ball yet? I don't think. Since their goal, they haven't left their box. Second half has been just a lot more. I don't know. Yeah, just a lot more standard. Like, I think Real Madrid, they were able to stop the threat of a ball in behind. I think, yeah, we saw that with Carvajal not really pushing up as much as he did in the first half. Cruz playing quite deep. They not really a back five, but like with this back four with like a lot of cover in the center, just makes it difficult for Dortmund to find any space. And yeah, 2-0 with 6 minutes left. Yeah, the fans seem a bit desperate. You would be. 84th minute. You've played a good game. You're 2-0 down. And Modric is coming on for Bellingham. Is that allowed? I don't feel like that's a legal substitution. So what happened to Dortmund? So set piece. We were looking at the statistics before the game. We knew set pieces were going to be a thing. If we look at both teams, they really push from set pieces. They've done really well this season. Where have we got from here? Yes, we've got 0.48 and 0.3, so pretty good for their respectively. So set pieces were going to be a key point of this match. Again, I expected it to come from Dortmund, not really Real Madrid, but on the face of it, that's kind of what you need in the final. Cruz getting a good standing ovation, very, very well deserved. Congratulations. Yeah, not bad. Coming off 5 minutes to go in the Champions League final, 2-0, having played a phenomenal game, not really making any mistakes. And then second half, since the goal, I feel like, again, yeah, Real Madrid, they struggled a little bit in the first half because I think they were quite aggressive with their overloads on the flank, trying to force play to one side and then expose on the other, but they were getting caught on the counter-attack. So I think second half, fullbacks have been a little bit more conservative. You can see even there, like Carvajal's already ready to be in behind. And that just meant that Dortmund weren't able to get control or get the ball into their most dangerous players. So Sancho and Adeyemi, maybe they had a few chances, but nothing too concrete compared to the first half. And that just meant that Real Madrid was slowly able to gain control, and then since the goal, it's just been essentially one-way traffic. Now they're really putting on the pressure, just trying to dirty Dortmund's play as much as possible. But even their Valverde, unbelievable press from Valverde, that was incredible. Even if it's a foul, runs like that just gain the team so much time. They allow them to set up properly. Really, really impressive. Here we go, Dortmund coming in from the left flank. Oh! Oh, flags up. Oh, flags up. I'm curious. Is it going to get VAD? Let's have a look. First replay I'm seeing. Oh, yeah, he's off. He's off. Good header, though. Good ball. That would have been big. 3 minutes left, a goal like that does change the tide. Good ball. Haven't really seen much of Dortmund like attacking from like a stable position like that. Cross coming from a deeper position. Real Madrid have done well to deal with it. Hasn't really been something that they've been able to exploit too much. Come on, let's just get one goal. Just make it a little bit more interesting, you know? Because any team that strolls into 50 in Champions League just doesn't feel right. You need to put up a little bit of a fight. Weakest link for Dortmund from Tommy. That's a difficult one because, again, I don't feel like... Personally, from watching this game, I don't feel like anyone's played particularly badly. But it's just because, I mean, the goals, you can't really blame anyone from a set piece. That's just gonna happen. Like I can't remember who was marking Carvajal. But set pieces, yeah, that's difficult. And then from the set piece, lots of changes. I think Dortmund just lost their footing a little bit. They didn't really have. But I don't know. Let me guys know. Let me know in the chat if you think anyone in particular hasn't had a great game, especially for Dortmund, or even Real Madrid, if there's any players that you think could have done a little bit better. Hey, thank you so much, JLNHB. Thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, the feedback's been really, really good from you guys, so appreciate it a lot. And we're going to be doing this a lot. Especially, so keep track, subscribe if you haven't. We're going to be doing this all through the Euros. Let me know what teams you want to see covered. Obviously, we're going to do England games. Maybe do some Italy games for my Italian fans. Because if you guys don't know, I actually live in Italy. So, yeah. They might do it. I don't know why I said that. They're absolutely not going to do it, but they might do it. I hate Real Madrid. I wouldn't say I hate them, but I'm a bit bored of them. Same with Man City. Don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely not an Arsenal fan. I'm kind of happy they didn't win, but I'm kind of bored of Man City winning. It's just a moot point every time they win. So in a way, it's like, okay, nothing really changed because they won again. But at the same time, it's like, another year of this. Especially with all the allegations. Could be a bit difficult, you know. Working as an analyst as well, analyzing the last 20 minutes of a game is you usually skip it. Because not really skip it, but unless there's like goals or something like particular that you need to pay attention to. But once you get to the 70th minute, there's been like substitutions. Maybe that becomes the main focus, like understanding which players come on. But tactically speaking, the players are tired. They start to maybe get a little bit looser. You kind of know what to expect. The game's changed quite a lot. So it's difficult to analyze the last 15-20 minutes of a game, especially Champions League final. There's been some substitutions. You're winning 2-0. what is there to say? If you're Real Madrid, they're doing what they need to do. They're not committing players forward, so they're sitting back. And then as soon as Dortmund, Haller's in here, has he got time to turn around? Bad ball back. That's a shame. Have Real Madrid not made... Oh, yeah, I suppose... Oh, yeah, Modric came on, didn't he? I forgot to change the name of the players, but I feel like at this point it doesn't really matter. Yeah, Dortmund, Real Madrid are doing what they need to do. So from this position, they're trying to push up, they're trying to commit players, but essentially, if the ball can't really make it out of this position here, so if the centre backs have the ball, you've got these players here, and Bellingham, Rodrigo, whoever's left up top, they're just putting pressure, then that's just going to make it really difficult for them to create a structured attack. So yeah, you can see as soon as Dortmund have the ball here, so much of what Real Madrid are doing now is in this position. They're not doing much at the back because they don't really need to. They're pressing quite high up the pitch. The risk is something like this now, where they've kind of broken it. They've broken this first line. And these players, Vini, Bellingham, Rodrigo, they're all quite tired. So if they can make it in, then it can be dangerous, but they're just not making it in. Again, down the centre, nothing to do. I think Valverde's had a really good, quiet game. Like, nothing too spectacular, but he's, defensively speaking, not much has gone past him. Yeah, Bellingham. I think most of Real Madrid's midfield, generally speaking, like, I don't feel like any Real Madrid player has particularly been like, unstoppable, but they've just all been solid. They've all just been Real Madrid. And here they come again. 90th minute, I think someone, I can't remember who said it in the chat, but they're just saying, oh, what was that? Oh, wow. That was cheeky little dink onto the back post. Open game. Yeah, look at Real Madrid. They've got 6 players just chilling at the back. Surely there's no way they can create a chance from this. Yeah, good defending there. Should Dortmund have made substitutions earlier? I think that's a tricky one, because in hindsight, you'd always say, like, yes. But in the moment, they were kind of in control. The substitutions came from that corner when they lost control of the game. So it's a difficult one. I'm not a fan of managers who say, like, right, sub in the 60th minute, no matter what. I'm more of a fan of managers who are like, okay, we see how it's going, and then we'll swap when and if we need it. Like Real Madrid, Ancelotti, sometimes maybe he does his substitutions early. Tonight he realized his players were doing well, so he just let them play. So I saw Vasquez came on for Vini. I think I missed a few substitutions for. I think I've butchered Vasquez's name there, but it doesn't matter. Oh, David, thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, make sure to stick around for the Euros. We're going to be doing a lot of games. Let me know if there's any games in particular that you want to see. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Could you please, after the game, show you how you make the pegs like the team kits? I don't know if I can show you, but I can tell you. Essentially, these are just like an Illustrator file of like a peg, of like a circle with a shadow. So imagine it's like this thing here. And then I just paint the colors on. You can do it in any software, and then they just get duplicated. So yeah, if you guys are new around here, this is my software that I've been trialing out that I'm going to be using for the Euros. So I've only just introduced it. It's not available yet, but I'm going to be working on it over the coming months, and hopefully it can be available for you guys to use relatively soon if you're an analyst or a coach or just a content creator or a fan, or you just want to create your own tactical animations. This hopefully should be available for you guys to use relatively soon. But yeah, corner in the last minute here. Let's see if they can draw anything from it. Oh, Courtois, weird punch, but still very present in the box. Let's see if they can create anything. Good run there from Maatsen, but nothing to come of it. Their subs didn't help at all. Putting on Malen and Haller hurt their build-up. Their issue wasn't getting to the final third from the second. They were never in the phase before chance creation. Yeah. I think that was essentially it. They just having the strikers up top didn't really change anything, because the issue wasn't up here. It just felt like they weren't really getting the ball here in the first place. So they kind of lost. And there it is. 15 Champions Leagues for Real Madrid, and a Champions League to see off Toni Kroos's unbelievable career at Real Madrid and as a footballer. And I'm excited to see, not the result that we all wanted. I think looking at the polls, looking at the chat, I think everyone was more leaning towards an underdog story, as I think we all do. But still, great game. Really fun tactically to understand what was going. And we'll see if there's any more viewers coming in after the match. But congratulations to Real Madrid. Let me know your thoughts down below if they deserve to win it. I think technically speaking, they do. Dortmund should have taken their chances in the first half. They had a lot of opportunities to score in the first half. Didn't really pay off for them. They didn't take them, and that's Real Madrid. We've seen it in every single game against Man City, Bayern Munich, whoever it is. They always do this. They don't need much to score. Tonight it was a corner, and there you go. 15 Champions League. That is unbelievable. That's more than double than any other team. They are the undisputed kings of Europe. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We're going to do a quick recap of the tactics now. So if anyone's joining after the match is over, or if anyone want a quick recap of how the game unfolded, then we're going to be doing that, and then we'll say goodbye to everyone. And then this stream will be available if you guys want to sit through it tomorrow, want to understand some other things that we might have missed when we get to rewatch the game. I don't know. So most of the first half was essentially played in this position here on the left. So we had, let me get Vinny back because he was playing, wasn't he? Let's just have Vinny. So we had Vinny in this position over here. Rodrigo actually came over onto the left flank a lot. Cruz was playing quite deep in this position here. We had, who was it? This was Adeyemi. That's not how you spell his name. Oh, that's not how you spell his name. There we go. We had Dortmund essentially sitting in a 4-1-4-1 or like 4-4-2 formation, trying to stop this position here. Real Madrid with a few players on this position, maybe Valverde over here, and it was mostly Carvajal, the position that they were trying to exploit the most. They had this player over here, and as we analysed, we had this ball over here was one of the most dangerous ideas that they had. Not directly, obviously, but this idea of having a lot of players on this position with Rodrigo. Valverde was maybe a bit more conservative. Camavinga forced Dortmund to move over to this side, and Carvajal often had quite a lot of space on this flank. Again, yeah, not directly, but maybe through Bellingham, through Camavinga, maybe through Cruz with like deep switches. A lot of these balls over here. Then we also had maybe from deeper positions when Dortmund were a little bit more central. We had these balls into the left flank over here into Vinny. But essentially it was going from left to right and right to left. That was the main exploit that Real Madrid were trying to use in the first half. And it didn't really work for them because while this was their main route of attack, Dortmund were able to take advantage of it by pushing forward with these passes. We had Adeyemi moving into these positions. We had a lot of counterattacks. So essentially a lot of players were over here, which meant there was a lot of players, a lot of space available in this position over here, which Dortmund were able to exploit the most. We had a lot of balls in behind. We had a good counterattack here. Hummels played a few good balls into Real Madrid's really high defensive line. Second half, again, need to rewatch it back to see if it's completely accurate, because we might have missed a few things when we were talking, but it felt like, to me anyway, that the fullbacks were a little bit more conservative for Real Madrid. They didn't push up. Valverde was maybe a little bit more aggressive. Rodrigo didn't really push over here, but was mostly on the right channel. Bellingham started pushing up a little bit more. We had these two players. We had the fullbacks here for Dortmund. And it just felt like they were a bit wider. So not really trying to maybe switch, but not trying to overload as much. And I think this struggled because it meant Dortmund couldn't get their quick players like Sancho and Adeyemi. I know they may be inverted now, as maybe in this position, wasn't it? Sancho was on the right. They struggled to get them on the ball a little bit more, so which is why I think their substitutions didn't work, because the issue wasn't really here. Once they were here, they were still able maybe to create the attacks a little bit, but it was they just didn't have the time to get onto the ball because Carvajal was a little bit closer, Mendy was a little bit closer. There was less space in the center with these players covering, and their press was a little bit more well organized, I think, just able to like rush the passes from the back. So first half, maybe they had a little bit more time to like move the ball at the back. Second half, Bellingham, Vinny, Rodrigo, they're a lot quicker at closing the players down, even Valverde pushing up. Then the goal came from a corner, which you can't really predict, and then from the corner, Real Madrid just kind of took over. The substitutions didn't really work for Dortmund, and the game just kind of fell to pieces a little bit. Yeah, not what we wanted, but again, thank you all so much for joining. I really hope you enjoyed it. It was so much fun for me to talk and get to know you guys a little bit more. yeah, I really love what we're building with the channel and the support you guys give to the tactics and the comments. I always read them. I really appreciate the support. So thank you so much for tuning in. If it was just for the first half, second half, whatever it was, really appreciate it. Again, if you haven't left a like, maybe one last like boost to see the stream. To see the stream off. And yeah, I will see you for more of these for the Euros. So I'm not entirely sure what the schedule is, but I know it starts in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be doing more of these to come. So thank you guys so much, and take care.